welcome to everyone joining us today for this MMA conference. To start things off, here's Katja Grieser, the Country Director of the MMA Germany.
Hello and welcome to the first MMA Impact Conference here in Germany. My name is Katja Grieser and I'm the Country Director. I couldn't be more excited about this first conference and two-day event, as we have a really fantastic speaker lineup and an agenda which is really meeting the zeitgeist. It's all about the future of marketing and the change which is going on. And it's not only because of COVID, but it's mainly because of a change in consumer behavior, a constantly changing technology landscape, and as brands need to better understand the new generation they need to talk to. Where to find these new generations? How can platforms like games, music, esports help you with that? And how can brands be integrated? How to leverage social commerce? These are just a few topics which we will talk about. And we also will cover topics about how to upskill yourself as a marketing leader, how to lead in a hybrid world, and what skill set do you need as a future marketer. I'm sure we have many exciting topics for you. Before we kick off, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Meta, Mission Female, and AdSign for their support. And furthermore, I also would like to encourage you to join our Slack community. That's the place where you can interact and network with other attendees and our speakers. Before we kick off with Philipp Westermeier and Mark Wächter, I'd like to hand over to our CEO from MMA, Greg Stewart. He's also very excited about this first event. I would like to welcome you. Have fun, enjoy, and we talk later. And now over to you, Greg.
Now, please welcome the CEO of MMA Global, Greg Stewart.
Good morning, everyone. This is Greg Stewart, CEO of MMA Globally. I want to welcome you to our first Impact Germany event. So I couldn't be more excited for Chris and Katja and the rest of the MMA German board to really bring the industry together in this way, to really feature and share some of what the MMA is working on to truly transform marketing. Now, for the very few of you maybe who don't know all about the MMA, we have an underlying mission to really architect the future of marketing in a way that I think is more critical today than, honestly, the necessity for that has ever been. I mean, not only have we been in the craziest of times in this pandemic, and I do hope that you and your families are safe and healthy and surviving this unbelievable event in the world today. But I also think too that given the unbelievably changing consumer mindset as a result, and part of that and more, and also too just the whole sort of connection landscape, technology landscape, the way that we actually sort of share content and then fund that content and utility to consumers is changing hugely today on just so many levels. I also think too that CMOs are really in a bit of crisis, dare I say, today. They're just, some of you have probably seen the stats that they don't keep the job quite as long as they used to. I don't know that we necessarily have all the credentialization within the C-suite in the same way that we do. And so listen, I'm not here to start off on a negative note for that. But, a crisis presents opportunity. And that's really the void that the MMA has stepped into incredibly aggressively. We just think that there's so much of our business that really needs to be rethought, reshaped, redesigned on so many levels. And just to share a little bit of what the MMA is doing, as a very fundamental basis, we really look for the world's the marketers' challenges, biggest challenges. We look for the things that we think are either most misunderstood or most broken, and then dig in really hard to try to address those. And you'll see that show up in the work that we're doing within our marketing attribution think tank. We call it MATT, M-A-T-T, which is really fixated on trying to really promote MTA as a thesis underlying measurement, but also a whole suite ensemble of measurement techniques that we think are required for marketers to be good at what they do and measuring the effectiveness. And also answered some of the industry's biggest questions, like what is the relationship between brand and performance marketing? I mean, we don't even have the basics, it feels, in some regards. I think the work that we've done, that we're now doing in our data think tank, or DAT, D-A-T-T, you can see we're clever with acronyms. The DAT and its support for customer experience is really the primary winning marketing strategy today. And I can back all that statement up with a bunch of research and insights we've done if you'd like. But DAT and that work is going to be really powerful this year. We just launched that think tank really at the latter part of last year, 2021. And finally, the work that we'll be sharing this year around our marketing org strategy think tank, or MOST, M-O-S-T-T, is really revolutionary. In fact, I believe firmly it's probably the most interesting work, the most fundamental, foundationally changing work that I personally have had a chance to be a part of. And I got to found multi-touch attribution 20 years ago. So this, to me, in understanding how to align capabilities, marketing capabilities, of which there are 72 discrete required in a marketing org, align those capabilities to strategy, and then tie that to financial performance, which we can now do, is powerful. In other words, I think there's an opportunity through MOST that we can lead the C-suite and the rest of the business in real leadership in a way that I'm not sure that marketers will really be given a chance to do. So listen, I couldn't be more excited about MMA's future. Although I'm nervous about marketing's future, I'm excited about our ability to create change and positive opportunity within that. So as we really work to raise the stature and gravitas of marketers. So listen, I got a whole list of sort of sponsors here, Adjust, I love that business, Google, Meta, Ogre, Snap, Sony Music, TikTok, TikTok, I'm a huge TikTok fan, Update, and forgive me, is it YOC or YOC? I don't know your company. I bet you I get a phone call from this one. Happy to hear more what you're doing. So again, have a great event, everyone. Chris, Katya, again, thank you. Thank you, MMA board, really appreciate it. Good luck, everyone.
Time now to listen to a fireside chat with MMA's chairman, Mark Wächter, and Philipp Westermeier, founder of OMR. Philipp will share his very personal experience of pivoting his famous media festival during the pandemic.
So, welcome to the inaugural MMA Impact Germany event. In the next 2 days, as we just learned, we will have lots of digital marketing rockstars with us. And who else than the father of all digital marketing rockstars in Germany could kick off this kind of 2 days? With me today, this morning, is Philipp Westermeier. He is known for a platform he created with this team called OMR. He pivoted the whole business due to the pandemic. And we want to learn from him today how he did this and how he feels currently and what kind of plans he has for the future. So, Philipp, we are not just kind of giving this event to the German-speaking countries. We also have lots of folks here from Europe and maybe across the world. So, if somebody doesn't know you, what would you do to explain him? Why are you here? What brought you here today to be the father of digital marketing rockstars?
Yeah, thank you very much for your nice introduction. My path into digital marketing was that I started out with SEO. As so many people in my generation, I optimized the websites for Google and made like some advertising money with it. And then we started a couple of companies in this banner universe. Before real-time advertising was a thing, we had retargeting, we had remnant inventory auctions, like remnant inventory sales companies, smaller ones that we sold to Outbrain, which is today Outbrain, and to Zalando, the retargeting play. So I had some early smaller success there with my partners, companies around like 30, 40 people in headcount. And that made me a child of the online marketing generation, I guess, in Germany. And in the very early days, like 2005, 6, 7, there was like a very small community. And for fun, I started an event at the time called Online Marketing Rockstars. and basically brought together business partners, friends, acquaintances to like discuss the industry once in a year. And since it was friends, I made it fun, and we had a concert and parties and nice food and weird locations. And this whole thing grew into a major event. Think of like a German version of South by Southwest. In 2019, the last event that we put on was 52,000 people in attendance, and 2 days in Hamburg, like fairground, huge event, speakers from across the world. And that became then my full-time job. And next to this event business, we set up a media platform, like a daily portal, a blog, podcast, education, like seminars around the year. And this also was what helped us when we had to shut down the event business basically 2 years ago.
We make a short break here because I need to explain those guys who don't know you yet that you are an ultra famous podcaster, at least in the B2B sphere here in Germany and the German-speaking countries. And when I prepared for this kind of 20 minutes gig, I thought, okay, what can you do here? When you have been interviewed some years ago, how do you do podcasts? You said, okay, it's easy. I just imagine I'm doing a business lunch and we do it easy. So my version is a fireside chat. So I hope you feel cozy. Yeah, fire is burning, open chimney fire. We are somewhere in the Alps. It's snowing outside. We're drinking virtual cognac. Don't drink too much. We only have 20 minutes, and we're smoking a virtual cigar. And so now, what we would like to do, we now take this point which you just described. So you hit the wall, yeah, this pandemic wall. We ran into, let's say, beginning of 2020, and you had to stop everything. And what happened then? So what came into your mind? How did you pivot this whole business you created?
I mean, maybe for context, at the time we were like 110 people operation, and the business, like the event business itself, was like 15-20 million in revenue, so not a small thing to stop. But obviously, 2 months prior to the event, we had to stop, and there was no chance we could put it on with the COVID coming. And the first goal we had is to keep all the jobs and keep the company basically intact. We managed to sort of like unwind everything and then find deals with a lot of partners, a lot of suppliers that we had like all contracted, and we had everything in place for a major event to happen. So we were busy like the first couple of weeks and months to unwind the whole thing, and there was no chance for me to rest or to be sad about it or to cry about it, because there was so many people were involved. I mean, it's an event is basically a marketplace.
By the way, you never really had kind of let's say headwind, right, in your business. You always surfed the wave and grew with Google.
Absolutely. We were like the child of digital marketing, and when we were starting, like Google and Facebook were called startups, small companies, and they becoming the most important, most valuable companies in the world was such a major wave that carried us. And I was experiencing all kinds of difficulties around retargeting and SEO, and that got more difficult. But putting on an event for this industry was always fun, always growing, and fun things happening, major speakers, huge sponsorships. And then, this Corona thing really was a crash. And the good thing was I had no time to worry or to be sad about it and actually be shocked, because there was immediate reaction was required to keep the company intact, to keep the jobs. And then everybody was looking at me, not even internally from the company, but I felt like now the market is sort of like looking at us, and they saw us growing, and they saw us like, in good times. And I felt like now they're looking at me in bad times. That now everybody's seeing us being challenged, and I need to sort of prove that we can get through this. And so after we had everything settled, and the whole event unwind was done, what we did next is we thought about what to do now. And the good thing is, we immediately took a long-term stance. We didn't try to set up a virtual event. I mean, many companies try to do virtual events.
Which our audience should understand, you never did a long-term thing, right? You were famous for just do it, for making.
Yeah, exactly.
You never really had a plan in your life. Well, in quotes, but you know what I mean?
It's true in a way. I mean, this whole thing, as I said, started out as a hobby. So we never had like a strategy in that way. It grew and it happened, and we were like fascinated ourselves and enjoyed the ride. But at this moment, with the Corona coming in and the cancellation coming in, we needed to make a decision, and the decision could either be, okay, we do a virtual event, we claim that this is a new OMR is now the virtual event, and settle with an event platform and do something from our home offices. But I felt like this would not be good for the brand. Would not be real. The whole experience you have when going there live is so different, and the concerts at night, there's major rock stars performing, all this, you can't have this in the virtual space today.
Just a second, those guys who don't know you yet, who haven't been at OMR. So OMR and also the side events are legendary for this kind of party mode.
Yeah, exactly. It was like so many random meetings and very good times. The decision was to like think about it long term and like not do something in virtual space soon, and not try to do any like quick fixes. The most important thing, I think, in terms of value creation and reshaping the company was that we decided to build what we call a review platform, where we think, okay, like how can we bring an event or like a fair where with all these booths, all these software vendors.
Okay, let's talk about this at a later moment. I got this. I saw this also in my preparation. Maybe first of all, because so far we talked about your event, but in the meantime, even before the pandemic happened, you started to create this kind of 365 platform, right? Yeah. So you have like a bunch of media means like seminars, webinars, newsletter, podcast, YouTube videos, tutorials. Can you explain a little bit more about what you created there already and which you can build on now?
I mean, that was the fortunate situation that we were in at the time of the cancellation, like basically from like year 1 or year 2 of the event. So I'm talking like 2008, 2009. We noticed there's such huge interest in the brand and in the event. So it would be a shame not to like try to be present throughout the year. And so I built up an editorial team, and we had like a small crew, like putting out 1 article a day. And then at the time, Facebook was a huge distribution channel. We put out this article on Facebook, and then the article traveled across the whole industry. And so we built up a brand around OMR, not only for being an events organizer, but also for like an editorial outlet.
You have little of these smart little brands like OMR Daily, OMR Jobs, OMR Academy.
Exactly. So we did everything then that I think a publishing and media brand should do today. The first thing is, if you're active in a particular industry, as we are with digital business, or in the beginning mostly online marketing, we started a job platform. That's the easiest thing to do. Like Jobs is everybody is looking for people, and we are like a place for the industry. So we started a job board. Then I had twin kids, and I had to push them around at night sometimes, so my wife could get some sleep. And I was listening to US podcasts, and it was like 2013, 14, and I noticed how much fun it was. My wife was getting scared almost because I didn't come home and with the kids, and the reason for that was I liked the podcast so much. And so eventually I decided I need to try my own, and that was 2015. So another big hit, like in terms of timing, and not intended, but like just very lucky timing. 2014-15 was just before the second podcast wave hit Germany, hit Europe. And so I had this own podcast that I still have. That is now like probably one of the biggest in the country. And that gave us some extra attention, some extra reach throughout the year. Basically, now I'm doing it twice a week. And we notice how beautiful podcasting is also in terms of business. You can put ads in. I can speak some ads.
It still sounds a little bit weird, to be honest. If I listen to your podcast, if you do advertising, it still sounds weird. But it's play of the game. Yeah.
The weird aspect, I think, is good. It's what you're referring to is what we call in the industry now is the host read, like the host of the podcast. In that sense, me, reads out or explains an ad. And that's a common industry practice, but it's different from like from the audio radio advertising that one knows. It creates extra attention for the ad. I mean, that's why podcast advertising is very very successful, I guess, because people like trust the host, plus are very attentive or like very like close, with their headphones on. You like really listen to the ad.
Absolutely. And you are one of the guys who really demonstrated that audio is sellable. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was good for us to notice that. And then, being the advertising people that we are, we set up a podcast studio business, like created other podcasts also to create advertising space. We asked existing podcasters at the time if they would give us permission to sell their inventory, their potential ad inventory. They didn't even have ad inventory. They didn't know they have ad inventory. So we created ad inventory with them. So from this like niche industry podcasting idea that I had myself, we now, I would say, have one of the two biggest studios. We do like mainstream podcasts, B2C products. The biggest celebrities in Germany like do shows, and we market them and we sell them, and we have like over 100 different podcasts now that we are active with. And so this whole thing developed in the past years, but also already before COVID it started. Luckily, and so we had the podcast thing in place. We had like some job business in place. We had editorial opportunities and a whole editorial team, like a news site. Except that we usually don't do news. We do like research stories, about one story a day. I think I'm a big believer in reducing the amount of output. So I would not like put out 5 articles a day, but I would just put out one article that is well researched and and travels well.
Before we go now into your verticals, which is the next step you just did, which is, by the way, also laying the path for you turning OMR into a kind of next generation B2B media company. What I also read is that you created a community, which is also very important in these days. So you have a OMR family club, so to say, right?
That's for advertisers. I mean, we invite advertisers to become part of our community, and I would say, like, for them, we enable them to access the existing community around OMR. And I think what's really important is, like, everybody talks about community and everybody wants to be direct to consumer and all that. For us, we were one of the companies that never thought about community, because we grew out of the community ourselves. I am part of that community myself. I never like looked at a business plan and like looked what field to access and where could be potentially it should be a chance to make money. That was my hobby. So I was the natural person born in that community, and that's, I think, a huge success factor that many people underestimate.
Then you created this platform. You have now this 365 media kind of approach. And then you said, okay, we need something else, which is verticalization. So you went into fintech, you have your own mobility summit, and what you mentioned earlier, you also create your B2B software review platform. So maybe we can talk about this a little bit.
It's probably what creates the most value from if you look at OMR now, not from a hobby perspective, but from a pure business perspective. It's a business where we have now like 25,000 software reviews, like software companies that get used every day. And I think there's reviews for everything. You can like review every
B2B software, right?
B2B software. But I mean, you and I, we like decide to install software in companies almost weekly. We need new mailing tools, we need new HR tools, new payment tools, and many people do. And there's hardly a place where you can get objective and neutral reviews of business-to-business software, and the way you can confirm a buying decision as a company, or as a responsible person in a company. And so we now build this on the back of 25,000 people so far that have left reviews on business software in over 1,000 different tools now. And so this is I think is going to be a long-term business. It's purely digital. It's the vendors pay us to be listed basically on the platform. We see that we drive sign-ups, we drive new customers to them. And it's sort of like the new next evolution of OMR. It's nothing physical anymore. It's a virtual marketplace, but not like the one that is being like established once a year. It's always there.
And it's I think what it's which is really key for OMR. It's scalable, and it's pandemic agnostic. Yeah?
Exactly.
You can always do it, right?
Exactly, and plus it doesn't hinder us to come back with a physical event, hopefully soon. It will add to that. When I first had this idea, heard of this idea, and there's US companies that are like active in that space, a company called G2, Trust Radius is another one. that do that in the US, and I thought that just fits perfectly to us, and we're building this. We are like now around 35 people doing that.
Almost already 10% of your business, right?
In terms of people, it's 10%. In terms of revenue, it's getting there. We aim at like 4.5 million revenue this year from vendors that sign up for that. But it's I think it's going well, and it's a different revenue, right? If you look at it, a physical events revenue is different from from a business analyst's point of view than a purely digital subscription revenue that we have there.
You need to talk to different guys now, all those sharks. Yeah.
I don't. I mean, it's still like the company is still like independent. We have no investors. We do what we like, and mostly we try to bring back the event. I mean, there's so much like I think good stuff that happened in those 2 years that we were able to establish a couple of new pillars for OMR. Also, we did the biggest vaccination center in Europe.
So we learned how awesome you took the pandemic as a challenge and pivoted your company and doing a great job. Before we kind of close down here, for our, I think you're talking to all those global brands, but getting the international audience to OMR in Hamburg, and you, fingers crossed, you're still planning an event in May. So if you would pitch to the international audience, why should they fly into Hamburg to come to you?
I mean, it's really tough to make this pitch today because obviously we are like working on it and hoping it's going to happen. And there's like a different pandemic situation across Europe, and different countries are different. But I think when you come, you experience an event that's very, very carefully thought through in terms of how you experience us, like the light, the music, the speaker lineup, obviously, the way you meet people there, the whole setting. Like professional event experts came to check out what we do, and they're all amazed what they call the production value. I mean, you think you're going to a digital event, but it's more like a circus, more like a Super Bowl kind of thing. We invest so much money into like making it a very beautiful event with like very random, unexpected meetings and encounters, and around throughout the city, and we're basically overtaking the whole city. I think that's something that you haven't seen before.
That was a good pitch, by the way. And last question, if it doesn't happen, did you bought already a piece of land in Decentraland or so where you can do OMR, Rockstars virtually?
No, we haven't bought anything there. We obviously follow this, but I believe, I mean, there's certainly like a new world coming up in the metaverse and all this. As always with media, I mean, one medium is never going to totally substitute the other. It's just going to exist next to the other. And I think especially with live events, you're never going to erase or like substitute live events. We've seen that now. And I think even with like virtual things and AR and whatever you have, it's not going to substitute like getting together once in a while for real. And I think so we always have that.
I will challenge you once we meet in the metaverse. Yeah.
Yeah, we meet there, but I promise you, it's going to be a good meeting there. But it's still not the same, and it's still next to the meeting.
I think we all agree. Thank you very much. This was an awesome fireside chat, almost in China speed, as I'm also consulting in that area. So thank you very much for being here with us, kicking off this 2-day show, and see you next time in Hamburg, right?
Thank you for having me, Mark. Thank you for speeding me through this and making it happen.
Thanks very much, Mark and Philip, for such an interesting and insightful conversation. Marketing hasn't changed, but marketers must. MMA's Chief Content Officer, Peggy Anna Salz, will find out whether Unilever's Vice President Foods, Johanan Senft, believes that to be true in this next session.
Welcome to today's Fireside. Marketing has been compared to the universe, ever expanding and a lot of unknowns. That seems to really peg it because people skills, technical skills, data science expertise, everything is necessary. McKinsey points out that all the requirements are colliding like asteroids in space. And this, of course, means a massive impact for marketing. From AI to NFTs, marketers have to learn a lot of new things, a lot of new acronyms, a lot of new ways to do their job. And we want to learn from our guest today. Our guest today is Jochen Senft, Vice President Foods, Unilever DACH, that's Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Welcome, Jochen. It's great to have you here and be able to chat with you about this today.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you.
So I mentioned NFTs at the start, and during Impact, we've been delving into these hot topics. We've looked at the metaverse, social commerce. What for you is the new acronym of technology that you're grappling with currently?
Now Peggy, that's a really interesting question because, of course, I'm starting to immerse myself with what's new, Web3. That's another acronym. Virtual wallets, transactions. On a more, I would say, interesting note is I'm also immersing with Roblox because that is a game that is used by 126 million users globally, and my 8-year-old daughter is turning 9 in a week or so, and you know what she's asking for her birthday? Virtual currency, Robux. Now I think that is the other one that I really need to immerse with. I'll tell you that, and that also tells you how quick everything goes. The world of marketing, the world of digital is certainly accelerating to a space that we've never seen before.
And the future is here faster than it was here before, right? The pandemic forces a new focus on the customer. We knew that before, but now rather than talking about delivering appropriate messaging on the right channel, it's about adapting to the customer, adapting, people call it, at the speed of change. How important is this in your job and what you do, Jochen, and what is the importance of doing it in real time?
Yeah, wow. The beauty of the day and age we now working, in particular for marketing, is that we have more data at our fingertips than ever before. And I think the beauty of that is that you now can really use that data and start to translate the insights of that data into real specific actions. That could be mixes that you develop, that could be activities that you do, or that could be reaching people to sell something. In the old world, and particularly in the world that I've been growing up in, we would actually develop a product, turn that into a marketing campaign, and would potentially put that on TV and on air, and then people could buy this in the supermarket. And so all these steps in between, the mix, the product, the TV advertising, and then the store where you buy this. In our new world, actually, you have real-time data that you turn straight into a space where you can actually market the product and sell it at the same time. Now, that I think is absolutely a big difference for the type of industry that I work in. And I think the need of using that real-time data is really starting to become a competitive advantage. Well, if you get that right, and if you can actually reach consumers, quicker, faster, better than what we did in the past.
Marketing and selling at the same time, that's already changed. That's accelerated. How should the future marketer apply real-time data?
There's so much data available. How do you turn data from data into insight and really start to get into the understanding how you could cluster all of that data into demand spaces or into insights that you then turn into, a more specific mix or a marketing campaign. Now, I think that art of getting that right and doing that, I think that is something we all need to learn better, because the amount of data is just, much more than what we had before. I think the second thing that is really changing, I think you referred to it as well, is that whereas in the past, it was probably much more of a classic distinction between marketing and then sales. Right now, it's much more integrated, because you take that data, you have your mixes, you have your campaigns, you can actually, like I said before, turn this upper to lower straight into conversion into a selling transaction as well. And the role of marketeers is therefore much more blurring now with the roles of what we would classically call the salespeople as well. And I think very different with the past, and very much of a need to really adapt to that now.
What about the metrics? Some people say that the metric is always the same. That's a constant, make money, ROI, that's what it is. Is that the case, or has that changed as well for you?
I don't think the metrics really changed. So ROI in a campaign is still a very good metric, but there is a bit of a mantra or a phrase that's been used in the past in in the world of marketing is that from every dollar that you spend, you waste about 50%. You just don't know which, 50% that is. So the other side of the coin. I actually think that since we're going much more real time, much more database, that ROI is significantly improving. And I think that's exciting because you become more efficient and you can actually do more, reach more, and activate more with consumers for the things and the service and the products that you try to market or sell.
Before that, the future marketer is going to need a certain level of data literacy. They're also going to maybe need a different way of seeing marketing. A lot of people say we need a new construct. The purchase funnel itself is ripe for a rethink. I know people who are very anti-funnel even. I mean, it's almost like religion. Is there a funnel? Isn't there a funnel? What's your view? What do you think?
Well, there's certainly a purchase funnel. I have actually no doubt about this, where there's a set of considerations and probably triggered by awareness for the product and mixes that you offer, and then you make the step as a consumer to consider and purchase in the end. So there's no doubt about that. But I think what you're also referring to is that there's more to the purchase than just the purchase. I think what you're saying as well is that brands and marketing can go beyond that. And I would call that more purposeful marketing, where you would actually say is that what you offer with your brands and the products that you bring to consumers are brands and products that stand for more than what they actually deliver on a more physical level. And I think that is certainly changing. Consumers are looking for brands and products that are actually made in the nicest possible way. They're looking for brands and products that are actually standing for something that they believe in. And I think that's an exciting space to see and to be in with your brands, in the world of today.
That is very much demand on marketers now, not just the future marketer. I do want to get to that in a moment, but I want to stay with the experience and the whole idea of a marketer becoming more of a full funnel marketer. How do you become a full funnel marketer?
It's a really good, interesting question, because like I said, I've been trained more as a pure play marketer, and what's happening in my job is that like you said, it's blurring. You have all this data, tons of data now that you have at your fingertips to optimize your mixes and your campaigns. Now, in the old days, we would do a research, take the data, extract the insights, and build a campaign and test it. That would take 3, 4, 5 weeks. So it would be a really well set process. If you have all that data at your fingertips, you can actually extract the insights and turn this into content creative tomorrow and see how it works if it's out there in the funnel. And the beauty is you get immediate response. And based on that, you adapt and change. Classic A/B testing nowadays. What we allow for as well in that way of doing marketing is probably a little bit more trial and error. Whereas in the past, we tried to optimize and try to get it perfect and then lend it with consumers. And I think one of the key learnings for now is that you need to allow for that trial and error, test it. If it's not good, adapt it, change it, and do it again next level in. And I think that is a key skill to, one, build a culture around, but two, of course, have people, working with the data at the keyboard to really, get to this phase where you optimize your campaigns much more real time rather than, more process over the weeks or so. So I think it's a cultural shift for marketing on the one hand. On the other hand, it is about learning to optimize real time, and that is a skill.
It is a skill, and it's something we're going to have to learn. We haven't mastered that, but you are talking about, again, I'm hearing it, we used to hear it before, the CMO has to be the CIO or the chief data officer even. It seems that it has to be all brought together in one person. Is it brought together in one person for the marketer of the future? Is that about leadership in this area or leadership in all areas, therefore maybe more of a generalist as well?
I don't think it's much about titles in this space. I think it's much more around skills, capabilities that you master to be more effective with your customers and your consumers. And it's clear that if you want to be a marketeer of the future, you need to understand and own real-time data. That is an absolute skill to master. And I think whether that then sits in CIO or CMO, I don't think that really matters, other than making clear upfront that data is important, and turning data insights and being able to play the full funnel in the new world of marketing.
One thing that is very much a constant now is that brands don't just deliver value. They have to stand for values. We're hearing about this and we're seeing it. How can and should the future marketer demonstrate that, really walk the talk? And how are you maybe doing that at Unilever as an example?
Yeah, I think I referred to it before, and I think it's something that is close to my heart as well. Something that I've learned as well in my time at Ben & Jerry's. We marketeers make products for consumers. We're here to excite and delight, as I would always call it. And if you do well, consumers buy your product. But what we realized, and we are realizing more and more, is that when you have a large group of consumers buying you and actually engaging with your products and your campaigns as such, you can also actually use that product and brand as a platform to have more societal impact. And you could call it purpose-led marketing or meaningful marketing. What I learned actually in my day job and engaging with consumers is that even when you are an ice cream brand, you can actually campaign for climate justice because you have that brand and the scale as a platform to speak out and to instigate and inspire people to do something in their own lives as well for a better planet and environment as such. So that is one example from the past, but more from today, interestingly, is more and more people are looking for plant-based options because I think by now we all know that eating a little bit less meat is good for the planet because the impact of eating meat is significant. And one of our brands at Unilever, the Vegetarian Butcher, is actually what we would call a plant-based meat replacer, meat mimicking. That's what we do. Now, the beauty of Vegetarian Butcher is that we actually have a lot of consumers that love meat. They know that eating meat is not per se good for the planet. But what they don't want is to sacrifice on that taste. And in Veg Butcher, what we have been able to do is to actually turn plant-based meat products into great tasting meat products or great tasting products with less impact for the environment. And whilst we are actually there to give them that great product, at the same time we also use it, and we did that recently at COP26, to actually make people aware what the impact is of meat eating. So it becomes a movement, it becomes a platform, much more than just on a product level or on a brand level as such. That is such an inspiring thing to do as a marketer on the one hand, because you see that people engage with that. On the other hand, it's such an eye-opening thing for consumers as well, that brands can play that role, that can actually educate and make them aware how you could, make little steps in your own life to change your eating habits and behaviors.
It's interesting you make that point, Johanan, because what you're also saying is that the marketer of the future needs to also educate the customer and understand the customer, but also be willing to combine what it takes to sell product and impact and educate. So it's really not about that snappy, really amazing campaign anymore. It's about a program of education is what I'm hearing here.
Yeah, I think that's what before. I mean, brands are there to last long, and it starts with trust, having an impact. And I think the brands that do that well, they sustain. They adapt themselves over time. They use their impact and scale to have an impact for the greater common good. And I think that's what you see with many of the brands that have been there for a long time. They have inherently a purpose, a starting point, and that travels with them.
Any thoughts on how you stay not only consistent with that message, but also authentic?
In this space, it's all about authenticity and walking the talk. Quite often, some brands make the mistake that they see something popping up and they jump on the bandwagon. And consumers are educated these days, and they drill right through it when it's not authentic, when it's not walking the talk, and when it's not actually something they also put into action. But the minute you do, they reward you for it, and they will see it. What I see with the brands that do it well is that when they speak up and have a point of view, it's not something that just comes up in the moment. It's something they've been doing already for years and years and years. Sometimes at small scale, sometimes not even visible for consumers, but something that's inherently part of their brand DNA and the culture of the company that does these type of things.
So it's also about having that as part of the culture, being consistent. You said it at the top. We also need to think that the future marketer needs to be current. In other words, understanding what's going on. And that might be understanding something like the virtual currency, the Robux. A lot is going to be happening. It's 2022. What do you think, if you had to end this sentence, 2022 is going to be the year of what?
The year of marketeers focusing even more on turning data into insight and turning insights into campaigns. COVID is, for all of us, accelerating digitization. The amount of e-com transactions have just gone through the roof. And I think that's not changing in 2022. That is a structural behavior change.
Let's imagine for a moment our audience is saying, yes, absolutely. I'm 100% on board with this. What is one piece of advice, one thing they can do, the next Monday to start preparing for that future now?
Things change. You talked about NFTs, metaverse, Web3. I can tell you that goes at the speed of light. So I think that is a piece of advice that I would give you, is that keep on learning, because that would make you a leading edge marketer. I think the other thing, and I'm probably now coming to two instead of one, is that we live in a volatile world, Peggy. Things are changing rapidly. Of course, we're in the midst still of a pandemic. There's inflation. There's climate disruption in many ways. And, the beauty is with the brands that we run and the business that we run, we are often, and we have, the opportunity to be really a beacon of trust and calmness. And I think that is something to keep in mind as well when you run a brand, when you run a business, across, DACH, for example. Keep that in the back of your mind. I think consumers are looking for that trust. They're looking for, that beacon of trust and calmness that as well.
That is very interesting, Johanan, because I've seen research, I think it was from Kantar, that actually confirms this. There was a survey, it was in the States, not in Europe or DACH, but it was along the lines of, who do you trust to get us out of this pandemic, to get us out of this disruption? And brands came in higher than governments. That's a lot of responsibility for people like you.
There's a lot in our hands to get that right. And that's carefully building your brand. Don't get me wrong. That means that you walk the talk, like I talked before, and be authentic. But when you do it right, it actually has an impact on people's lives. And people are looking for a beacon of trust, like I said, because there's so much in the news and across the web that is not always verified and could be, done with the wrong intentions. And I think that's where brand can make a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's made a huge difference speaking with you, Johanan. I've really enjoyed your insights around the practical side, around data literacy and what marketers need to be and embrace, but also the vision, what you need to have in your culture, in your DNA, in your mindset. Thanks so much for sharing today.
Thank you, Peggy. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Johanan and Peggy. That was a terrific session with many memorable takeaways for us all. For a discussion on how marketing departments need to organise to succeed in times of rapid change, please now welcome Agnes Kovac, Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer at Ekes Granini, and Jessica Klaar, Vice President, Marketing and Communications Central Europe, talking to our moderator, Peggy Anna Saltz.
Welcome to our panel, How to Future-Proof Your Marketing Organization. As we all know, global events have not only accelerated business transformation and change, they've also upended consumer perception of what brands must do and also stand for in challenging times. So how can marketing leaders ensure everyone in the organization steps up to be more agile, more collaborative, more creative? And what are the models you can follow to future-proof your own organization? I'm your moderator for today's masterclass, Peggy Ann Saltz, analyst, journalist, chief content officer of the MMA Germany. And I'm really excited to explore these questions with our guests, each of whom offers a unique and valuable perspective based on their own initiatives in their own companies to prepare for tomorrow today. So I'll start off with Agnes Kovac. She is Chief Marketing and Innovation Officer at Eckes Granini, which is, of course, Europe's leading brand producer of juices and fruit drinks. Agnes has a long track record in marketing and sales in Europe for major brands, including Mars, Johnson & Johnson. Today, she leads the management of marketing and innovation at Eckes Granini Group, where she's responsible for strategic brand management, R&D, customer development, as well as innovation management and category revenue growth management. Welcome, Agnes. Great to have you.
Welcome, everyone.
And we have Jessica Klar, VP Marketing Communications at MasterCard. Jessica is responsible for leading the brand's marketing and communications for the Central European Division. She's also a main driver of MasterCard's multi-platform marketing strategy, advertising innovation as well, and also efforts to optimize processes and introduce new technologies with a strong focus on digital advertising, which is such a great fit for our panel today. Before MasterCard, Jessica worked in the automotive industry. Overall, she has vast experience in marketing, but she's also a true traveler, a cosmopolitan, living in 8 countries in the past 15 years of her career. Work from home must be a real pain, but no. And finally, she's a strong supporter of female leaders, and we want to hear those on our panel as well. Welcome, Jessica. Great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So we know the drill, right? The pandemic changed everything, but it also amplified the importance of customer centricity and listening. We've been hearing it a long time, but now a lot of companies are doing it. It's about purpose, not price, service, not selling. I'll start with you, Agnes. What do you do differently now?
Actually, I think the task is the same because we need to be relevant and attractive to our consumers. The question is that how can we remain relevant and also contemporary for them? So having a proper consumer empathy is the key word in my view to get a proper understanding what is actually the real need. So if I relate to our heritage brand, which we have, for example, OSC, how can we be relevant nowadays with a brand with huge values? I think it's a great example that health is a very strong need nowadays. 70% of the European consumers are saying that they want to have a healthier food and drink habits. How can we provide that? So we have innovations around that area with what does the health mean for today to our consumers? So you can stay relevant and also true to your core value in a contemporary way.
Jessica, what can you add to that? Because, of course, customer centricity, I mean, that is part of the DNA at MasterCard very clearly. What is your focus? What has changed for you?
Let me add one different perspective to what Agnes just has mentioned. I think, and I'm quoting our CMO, let's redefine customer loyalty, right? Because normally we're thinking, okay, we expect that we're running customer loyalty programs to enable consumers to be loyal to us. But what is loyalty really, and can it be bought? So actually, probably customer loyalty is more the brand being loyal to its customers by doing what it actually says it will. So for me, it's about really making decisions that benefit our customers and ultimately also us.
I'm going to stay with you for a moment, Jessica, because of course, congratulations are in order. You are now responsible for marketing across 11 countries, not just Germany and Switzerland. So your job is really about keeping cross-functional teams across multiple regions focused on the customer, while of course encouraging diversity that makes the markets what they are. What's a key learning for you so far in driving cross-functional and diverse disciplines?
Thank you. First of all, thank you. And in my previous job, I was actually double heading. So I was CMO marketing, CMO for Germany, and the divisional lead for the German and Switzerland division. So right now I'm moving out of this role towards leading this newly formed Central European division. And with that also comes this one key takeaway, which is people. I'm now more than ever responsible for people, and I'm more than ever in the people business, right? So having led a market myself, I'm now responsible for an amazing division with an inspiring group of leaders, and I'm super thankful that each and every one of them is an expert in their respective fields. But for me, it's really important that everyone feels empowered to lead autonomously, that I'm here to support and guide, but not to decide top down, because who am I to decide? At least not always. And I think one important driver really for empowered people are that responsibilities and KPIs are set in the beginning, and that they're also achievable. And I also see that there's an increased need for flexibility to really accommodate change, because we've been in a change process the last years, right? And change is not something that is not constant, but it's always challenging, right? So there is a need for flexibility to accommodate change from a business point of view, but also personally. And so for me, it's about allowing people to change positions within divisions, go on stretch assignments, but also flexible working hours, making time for the family, right? I don't really care where people are working or how long they will work, as long as they're on track with their KPIs.
Now, Agnes, what's interesting about you is you head marketing and innovation. So you yourself are like a microcosm. This is at the center of cross-function is what I'll say. Why these two in combination, and what are the benefits?
Yeah, we see them very much connected, because actually the brand essence is also going towards the territory of innovation. So how our brands today are seen is absolutely inherited to the core of the brand. To be innovative, not purely means in our sense that we bring in new products, but how do we manage our brands that should have an innovative lens, meaning that how can we contemporize the brands? How can we stay relevant for the future generation as well? How can we gain new consumers? So we see that quite comprehensive. And if I may add that I also have R&D, which I think is extremely important to speed up innovations in our territory, which we are talking about product development in the territory of our fruit juice arena. It can really accelerate and find new solutions, as we also have an innovation ecosystem consisting of from nutrition to suppliers to universities or even startups to co-create an idea. So having that cross-functional lens on my radar really helps to speed up, to streamline, and also to co-create together bigger initiatives.
What have you learned about leveraging this to increase your own brand value? You know, you're talking about an ecosystem of external parties, nutritionists, experts, others. Ultimately, the consumer is at the center, but how do you leverage this to benefit the consumer? What have you learned?
I think it's as we now all experience, even from our personal life, that our needs are so fragmented. We want everything. So how can we address with our own world all the needs? And I think here an ecosystem can be a big help because we can't do everything on ourselves. So we can't manage everything, or we can maybe, but it maybe not the most efficient financially. We have a chance to source in additional knowledge, additional resource without having in in-house them, but still to leverage and find alternatives that resonates better to the consumers. So for example, we can use startups to co-create an idea, but not only to co-create the idea, but even to execute or find a route to market strategy to be more efficient in terms of bringing a product to a consumer. So there's a lot of alternative we can leverage them.
So it's really, as you said yourself, you're not alone. It's an ecosystem. There are external stakeholders, internal departments, teams, what people are calling today squads, product, marketing, everything. Jessica, you said it yourself, you're a people person. What does it take to lead your squad, and how are you rising to the challenge? I'd love to hear that, because then we have learnings from you about how to do it right.
Well, to keep great folks around, right? I believe that you need to be a good leader. That means empathizing with people, connecting with them, and understanding what really makes them tick, and then really enabling them to realize that full potential. Am I doing that always? Not sure. Am I striving to become better and admit and learn from my mistakes? For sure, yes. And we have something called the Mastercard Way, which helps us to do so. So it kind of sets the standards on how we operate, and it fosters a shared set of values and behaviors across the company. And it's all designed around that idea that being inclusive and a force for good, not only in the workplace, but also beyond, unlocks potential for ourselves, our communities, and our businesses. So we feel that when people are doing what truly inspires them, they will continue to be in such environments, which means we can actually continue to work with them.
So I want to follow up here, because there it's not just a philosophy around leadership. There's a program around it, unlocking talent, because that's what is at the center of what needs to future-proof an organization. Tell me a little bit more, Jessica, around how you are approaching this at MasterCard.
So I give you two examples. The first one is that when we hire, we not only hire about people that are intelligent, smart, that can listen, learn fast, and communicate effectively, so IQ, EQ, but we also believe in something called the DQ, the decency quotient. So we believe that everyone working at MasterCard needs to be decent and real, and that is part of the process when interviewing people. And it's also part of our KPIs. So the MasterCard Way and being decent is being measured as part of your performance reporting. The second thing, and that's a very, very exciting news actually, is something that we've just launched recently, which is called Unlocked. It's an AI-driven opportunity network where our employees can look at opportunities to grow and develop themselves. It's actually built by employees for employees, and every single employee has access. And it kind of puts learning, growth, development at the center of everything we do. So they can look for and post opportunities, including short-term projects, mentorships, volunteering opportunities within MasterCard. And the goal with that is really to build the skills, experience, but also the necessary connections that they need to fulfill their longer-term ambitions, while still, and that's something that I have to say actually, while still delivering for today, because these projects, of course, are on top of your today.
Well, that is very organized. It's very ambitious. Now, not all marketers are there yet. They do want to be. But looking forward, sometimes you also have to look back, or you need to balance this. And this is what you have, Agnes. You have a situation where you have new opportunities, new talent, new innovation that you're telling me about. You also have a heritage brand. Share with me some of your learnings, or how you have learned to tell that story of these two worlds, the roots that made your company what it is today, and the goal to future-proof for tomorrow.
Yeah, I think as said, I think it's a very exciting challenge at the moment, what we are heading and focusing on to transform the whole marketing organization to be more agile. And it means that everybody likes to use the word agility nowadays quite easily and quite frequently. In our case, it's a very interesting territory as we want to streamline, want to synergize and gain certain level of efficiency, but still to be flexible enough and responsive enough to the market and consumer needs. So the way how we approach that, we also have a lot of programs, agile way of leading, peer coaching. So there's a lot of element officially organized. But more importantly, we are focusing on the ways of working, and we expect people to be more consumer centric in the way how they manage their project. So for example, we don't aim to have big campaigns in very well prepared, extremely well planned manner, but we aim to the marketers to focus on project oriented, agile way, test and learns, and learn and adopt and change. And that's actually a completely different way how we measure them, the completely different way how we enforce them to focus more on feedbacks and integrate learnings quickly. And that's a crucial element of the change. The other is how we manage innovations, which is we touched a bit in the previous part. But I would also like to mention here that we used to work in a very thorough process, go through how to plan a new product, how to ideate, how to process into the whole industrialization. Now we want to validate quickly with the consumer at the early stage of the innovation and then go fast and go test and learn. In case it doesn't work, it's okay, let's try something else. So we are much more agile in the way how we lead and also what we expect from the marketing community.
That is a really excellent way of approaching this, because you're being as adaptive, as changeable as the environment we're in now. It makes a lot of sense to think about marketing MVP in a way. You know, it's not the great campaign, maybe with the fantastic artwork and everything that goes into it, because this is a different time. Test, learn, fail, but then learn and try again. Now, these are qualities that you need to cultivate. Many marketers, although it seems natural to us, many marketers, this is for them an entirely new mindset. You know, what do you mean we don't wait until it's absolutely perfect, or wait until we get, some sort of award for this great creative? I'll start with you, Agnes. How do you cultivate these qualities? How do you pursue that approach at Eckes Granini?
Yeah, and I think that's a real mind shift change, which we definitely experience. And I think it's not an easy one. I think as leading by example is the most efficient way. How that's my experience, that if we are in the situation, what do we really expect as leaders from the teams? Do we really want them to be perfect and plan for 2 years to go on air, or we encourage them to be more creative? And of course, create the space, empower them. On the other side, giving them clear brief, what we really expect. We don't want you to spend 2 weeks on that, but we want you to come up with very quickly some new ideas. So I think we can do a lot as leaders just by acting as leaders. On the other side, creating the right forums, the right processes, the right principles of ways of working. For example, we created a new ways of working principles that hopefully helps the employees and the marketeers to get the logic of the new approach, and rather than explaining every single task, but giving a guide that what can help you in situations like that you may never faced with or not in that context.
Jessica, what it's sounding like here is that it's a very different paradigm, for lack of a better word. Before, to future-proof your marketing organization, it was a question of the tools or technology that you would use. And you were looking for leaders. You were looking for subject matter experts to do that. Now we're hearing about building teams and encouraging and empowering. And it seems that there is a different quality for a marketing leader. It's not necessarily that subject matter focus. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's going much, much broader than that.
Yeah. So, but I really agree on what Agnes has just been sharing with us, because it's a mind shift, right? Because as a marketeer, you normally heavily rely on perfect creatives, right? About getting it right and about your right brain, right? So it's not really about the left brain so much, right? About analysis. So traditionally marketeers are very strong on the right side of their brain. And I think how we at Mastercard formulate it is that we're trying to build Da Vinci marketing teams. And I love that expression, because it means that, as we've seen with Da Vinci, right? He's been known both for being an artist, but also a scientist. So he's been painting Mona Lisa, but he's also been able to work as an engineer. So Da Vinci marketeers, they can at the same time create and analyze, right? But they can also innovate or invent and redefine processes. I think to survive and thrive, you'll need the left brain thinking. But in the future, in addition to left brain, you also have to be immensely right-brained. So it's about finding the right balance. It's about finding people that might have both in like one person, which probably is super rare. But the focus then is to grow a team of marketeers that collectively embody these both mindsets. And I think it's exactly that. It's about thoughtful risk taking. It's about being agile, but also being able to analyze, right? So yeah, it's a different mindset, I would say, to be able to future-proof.
As you said, the Da Vinci marketer, bringing those both together. And that's what you've had to do in your jobs, both of you. You know, we're coming out of a couple of unprecedented years, year two. And it's your job to see around corners. It's your job, as we discussed, also to encourage your teams, to inspire your squads. I'll start with you, Agnes. What's the one thing marketing leaders should know about what's coming next, you know, in the near future, not the faraway future, that will change how they organize themselves for success today?
I think being ready to adopt changes quickly and dealing with the ambiguity around us, which leads to constantly changing consumer needs. So adaptability and flexibility, which can also mean as agility, will be crucial.
Sums it up extremely well, and that will probably be our playbook for a long time to come. I'll ask you the same question, Jessica. You know, the one thing they're watching, they're tuning into this, and they're saying, I absolutely do believe that I need to be a Da Vinci marketer. What do they do Monday?
Be courageous. I believe that courage is what makes you a better marketeer, because it involves so much more than just, planning ahead in time. It also means that you dare to do new things. It's about learning from failures. It's about accepting change. It's about being agile. So for me, it's be courageous.
What we're hearing, what we're learning is how you future-proof your marketing organization is, one, simply by accepting that change is a constant. It sounds so obvious, but to internalize that into your teams, into how you train them, how you unlock talent, unlock your own potential, that is really key. Any last words from both of you on, again, we understand what needs to be done, a little bit of inspiration on maybe what you do in your daily routine to be that way, to be agile, to be open, be flexible. Agnes, a last word from you.
Yeah, as said, it's a complete transformation. So I think we should challenge ourselves as well. Are we really agile enough as leaders? So I do that regularly to bring some challenging thought to myself and ask feedback. I think feedback is a gift. You can get extremely powerful and rich insights through your colleagues, through your broader environment. So I would encourage everyone to do so.
Excellent. And last word from you, Jessica, as well.
I love that feedback piece, Agnes, because I think how you think you get across is something completely different than how people actually perceive you. So I think I'll take that from you, Agnes, for sure. So I'll do that more often. And I think one thing from my side would be to continue to live, because work-life balance, and I know everyone's been talking about it, but we have to also take care of ourselves. If only you are fine from a personal perspective and you're well balanced, you can also do well at work.
That's very true.
Very, very lovely way to end it, particularly when people are turning what was supposed to be the big reset into what I'm hearing about, the big resignation. No, absolutely look after yourself. Bring yourself to work, but also look after yourself. Jessica, Agnes, a wonderful conversation, deep insights. Thank you both for sharing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Agnes, Jessica, and Peggy, for so many useful and thought-provoking insights. What skill set do leaders need in a new work world? Find out now with Jenny Gruner, Director Global Digital Marketing at Hapag-Lloyd, Lisa Steinhauer, Digital Transformation and Customer Experience Manager in APEC at BMW, and Mika Arendt, Managing Director Charitai, to find out. This panel is brought to you by our partner Mission Female. Thank you to them.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our panel from today about new work and new leaderships. Please welcome with me our two guests. I'm very pleased to have them here. It's Jenny Gruner from Hapag-Lloyd and Lisa Steinhauer from BMW. Thank you both for your time today. So what we want to take the next half an hour to get some insights from Lisa and Jenny about our topic, new work needs new leadership skills. So we have a lot of things to discuss, so just let's start directly with a short introduction, please. So please, Lisa, if you would start. You are the working at Digitalization Customer Experience Manager for APAC, Africa, Eastern Europe at BMW. Could you please introduce yourself shortly, who you are and what's your profession?
Hi, thank you, Maike. Hi, everyone. So my name is Lisa Steinhauer. I'm sitting here in Munich in the headquarters from BMW AG. And I have that long title, Digitalization Experience Manager. So actually, you know, I'm trying to push all our markets in the region. There are more than 100 markets in the region to digitalization and customer centricity. So the region, when I'm talking about this, that starts in New Zealand, is then the whole Asia Pacific room, excluding China, then hitting Russia, a few markets, Turkey, Israel, and so on, the Middle East, Central Eastern Europe, and then going to the African continent. So quite a big region, and we are all united in customer centricity.
Thank you, Lisa. Jenny, could you please take over and just tell us what's your daily work and what you're doing in your profession?
Sure. First of all, hi, Maike, hi, Lisa, and a warm welcome to all viewers on the monitors. Thank you very much for being here. As you already said, I'm Director Global Digital Marketing at Hapag-Lloyd, fifth largest shipping company worldwide, and there I'm building marketing from scratch since 4 years to support the global digital transformation. And a few words to my background. I earned my digital spurs in an online marketing agency where I made my first steps in digital marketing and new work. And after I decided to move to more traditional companies to digitize and transform them and to make them ready for the future.
That sounds interesting. Thank you, Jenny. So to get into our topic, as we want to talk about new work and new leadership skills, so please let us start with a short definition. So what is it in your word? What is new work in your opinion? And what are the top 3 challenges you and your company face there? So Jenny, if you could start in that case, that would be great.
Sure. Well, if we have a look at how the world is changing, then we see exponential technological changes, increasing digital networking and globalization. And this leads to new ways of working and initiates cultural changes that have a strong influence on the existing hierarchical structures. So new work describes, for me, individualized and more personal working conditions for the employees that lead to better performance and a greater satisfaction. And if I look at my daily business, the top 3 challenges are to implement new agile working methods like 90 days planning, Scrum, Kanban, and so on, that have an influence on how we work, because employees need to be empowered to do that. And this influences as well the leadership. So there's trust needed instead of control. The second challenge is, like for many other companies, hybrid work. We've learned remote work within the last 2 years. But now we have to handle how to bring office and remote work together, and to design the work in the office, how it should be there. And the third is for sure new leadership. As we are a traditional company, we have hierarchies, we have silos and so on. And to break this up, we need to bring a new mindset and new methods into the company.
Yeah, I totally agree, Jenny. Also, I think new work is also for us the way of how we work in cross-functional teams without a clear demand chain or command chain. I think it's very interesting that you said, that we learned remote work and now we have to go to hybrid work. That's exactly also what we are doing here. Due to the big region I'm working for, you have different status of quarantine or lockdowns and so on. So somebody is at the office, somebody not. And the whole thing then also in a multicultural environment. So that's increasing the complexity. And also I think we all got pushed forward due to COVID-19. So there were theories and ideas about it, small implementation, but now we are all in it. Yeah. So that's, I think, the challenge.
You mentioned COVID and you work the change already, both of you. So perhaps it's just stick into this. So for a change, like we all know that COVID has changed the situation of us, how we work it. What would you say in your experience? Is it in the lesson, has it make the change to your work easier? Has it make it faster? Or have you seen now that you're focusing on problems you have not thought about before? So perhaps, Lisa, you could just go on there.
So for me personally and my team, I think we hit problems we never thought of. So new work was kind of a theoretic approach, right? And especially focusing on the agile working and the new leadership. But the complexity of hybrid work, I think we all underestimated. In the beginning, there was a clear tendency for larger companies to send all the employees home. But then it also was a little bit, so what do you do if you live in a small apartment and have maybe 3 kids or everyone is at home? So you also want to give your employees the chance again to come together in teams and work there. This, I think, we didn't foresee, we didn't plan. So that's for me the biggest issue. And then also, and although you can do a lot of things now virtually, getting to know your team across different countries and nations is very, very important to do that face to face, and maybe doing a coffee or dinner to really get to know the person. So this is also something I struggle with and I underestimated.
Did you have a solution how, or a best practice how you solved especially this situation to get people to know which are somewhere in Asia with a complete different time zone and you won't be able to visit them in the next weeks?
Yeah, what we did is a little bit of virtual team meetings. So we do racing games together or quiz together. We do a little bit of, cards drawing, and then what's your icon you can relate to. So we try to do this. I think last year also in my other job we had virtual Christmas parties and so on, but I had the feeling everyone was tired of it, so we skipped it and we stick rather on sending out presents and being encouraging the personal talks during quizzes and games. Yeah.
Thank you. Jenny, what is the situation, or how was the situation there for Hapag when COVID and the change of work hit in suddenly?
I would say COVID has definitely accelerated new work for Hapag-Lloyd as for many other companies. We had to learn to work remotely overnight. Technologies like Teams or Zoom suddenly belong to our daily business. And this went as well hand in hand with the fact that employees suddenly had to be trusted. And I think this is one of the biggest changes that we have seen that came with COVID. So, and I think we wouldn't be ready if we didn't have COVID. Ready for new work. And after we have understood now that remote work works, the discovery was for sure the realization that we need hybrid work and hybrid work models. So to remain attractive and to remain as well competitive, because I see at the market that there's a huge demand from the employees to have hybrid work models and to have home office. So, and in my impression is that hardly any other topic was discussed more this year between employers and employees about what hybrid work models should look like. So personally, for me, COVID brought a good development here.
Thank you for sharing your experience there. As you have said before, Elisa, you have a team and people, co-workers, which are spread all over the world. And I would like to draw that topic to diversity in that case. So if you have a diversity is people all around the world, is people from different gender, different ages, whatever. What do you think, how does diversity drive new work?
Yeah, interesting question. I'm not sure if it's diversity driving new work or new work driving diversity. I think it's a correlation. Diversity for sure. For me, I think it's good that you've also pointed that out. It's cultural differences. It's also knowledge. So we have people that maybe come not from an engineer path or not from a marketing path, but from a totally different study field, or also how they learn. I like to really have a diverse field of team members, because I think it's important. If we want to be customer centric, you also need to have a lot of colors to actually match your customer needs or understand your customer. I think new work there is enabling us to have different personalities, characters, but also different lifestyles combined in one team. I think it's also great for women that have maybe kids already, or parents that want to, share, have different shared responsibility. The flexibility, not coming always to the office, is really enabling us here to have a new workforce, and a joint team approach.
Jenny, is there something you want to add from your side about diversity?
In the modern working world, diversity and inclusion are becoming more and more relevant, same as new work. So it's two streams that are running parallel. And many employees increasingly choose their next employer based on these criteria. And we have to face as well the shortage of skilled workers. That becomes a challenge for companies. Nowadays, nobody doubts that diversity is important for the success. So if you want to help transform your organization and to become more sustainable, you need diversity. So for my opinion, both movements have the same drivers. And they go hand in hand. So companies that drive new work drive as well diversity.
As you have said, it's the team changing, the situation changing. So as we have in our topic, it's new work and as well new leaders. So what do you think, how has leadership to change? So what defines a new leader, and what skills does a new leader need in our current situation or in our changing situation? Jenny, if you could start there, that would be great.
Thank you. In my opinion, leadership is not just about a title or career level. It's an attitude and a decision to lead, to change, and to inspire other people. So it's a mindset. And the relationship between leadership and self-organization is shifting. That's what I see. And in the future, managers will play more in orienting, accompanying, networking role than before. So it's more about cooperation and development than hierarchies and expansion of power. And it doesn't mean that leadership is becoming obsolete, but managers must increasingly allow autonomy. Means they're still responsible for defining goals and results, but at the same time, they have to hand over the control of the implementation. And I think to become a new leader, it's important that you get to know yourself, to lead yourself before you lead others. means analyzing your character, recognizing your strengths and weaknesses, and learn how to deal with them, because this could help you enormously to shape your leadership role. Lisa, some points from your side about that topic as well?
I like very much how Jenny formulated that also. Yeah, I truly agree that you, as a new leader or in this new way of leading, you need to be an innovator, a leader, a forerunner. And I think for me personally, also with the whole new hybrid work and new work, it's important that you have a very sensitive IQ and EQ. Yeah. So you need to understand what the other people want to tell you and also feel what they want to tell you, because you're not sitting so close together anymore. So you really need to accelerate there your skill set.
If you're talking in that way about leading remotely, working remotely, do you have like some top 3 points where you would say, okay, this is really important points and your experience, your advice to lead remote?
I don't have a golden recipe, unfortunately, yet. Yeah, so that's also true what Jenny said. You need to learn about yourself and check on this. What I do is I want to give my team the as much freedom in the implementation, but I need to have a common understanding on what is our goal and track that goal. Yeah, so not micromanagement, but setting the roadmap kind of, and that we also have a clear understanding on this. So I'm trying to be super clear on in communication and transparency from the goal and expectations, and I try to prioritize them. So when I get a ping on a chat like, do you have 10 minutes or so? I try to prioritize that, because I guess then they need a helping hand, or also they need to have a cry or whatever, so they need you. And I try to prioritize that because I cannot feel that since we're not sitting next to each other.
Do you have as well or see feedback from people that they see it's the right way, or that they are wanting different or more aspects in that way?
So the feedback I received right now is quite good on the approachability, communication and transparency. What I think we have currently in the team a little bit of struggle with, what are the tools we use to track on the success. So looking into digitalization, it's really difficult to say, when did you finish a project? Yeah, what I do maybe today is out of date tomorrow. So then I need to optimize a product, or in the agile working way, you're not going to be done with the product. You want to optimize it. So that's struggling a little bit, because you have clear management expectation, but then the team cannot say, okay, I'm done, it's live and now it's done. Yeah, and that's a new challenge for us as a team.
Jenny, what is your experience about the last nearly 2 years of leading remotely your teams?
Yes. I would especially add what Lisa said. You need a high EQ. It's important to be sensitive to revision. So because in home office, many team members, I realized, even work more than before, and they find it difficult to end the home office. So therefore, as a manager, you need to watch out and for signs of burnout, or seek the personal conversation with these employees. So, and it's as well important that the employees have the possibility to speak openly when the workload is too high, or when they need their energy for any other topic, because the COVID crisis brought a lot of challenges with it. So don't put as much pressure on the team every day. Look also that they do breaks and have time outs for good and creative work. And another topic is that I realized is focus on the positive things. So in addition to all the worries and uncertainties that brought COVID with us or with it, there should be room for the positive thoughts. So one possibility, for example, that I included in my weekly team meeting is the question, what have you experienced in the past week and what have you learned? So, and this puts the focus on the positive side and lead the team members to inspire as well one another.
Do you have like a tip how to enable your team to work in the right direction for the future?
Yes. First of all, empower your team, because empowering those around you is a highly efficient way of offering support to your team. Essentially, it's giving others the opportunity to think for themselves, to make decisions and take action based on their own judgment. So another important topic, in my opinion, is communicate the know why. Many executives spend a lot of time and energy explaining their workforces exactly what and how, and forget about the why, the benefit, the underlying cause. But this is, in my eyes, most important in order to strengthen the motivation, especially in times of change. Who benefits from the work of your team? Whose life will make it easier, better, healthier? So, and if you provide the know why, then the thirst for the know-how is automatically much greater.
I love that. Especially the why. I also think it's cool to explain why you make that decision or why we're going into that direction. I try to do that also very transparent, but your comment is true that mostly it's a focus on, what are we going to do and how, and the why is very, very important.
Lisa, you have said before that, we were pushed all to working remotely, but there are you have diverse teams, you have different situations at home. So the challenge we're facing now is not the remote work, but more the hybrid work in that cases. So how do you handle it? How do you get the people back in the office, or do you want the people to come back in the office? What is your strategy there?
So we just leave it up to the position and also to the employee himself. We want to offer both, and we want to encourage their own responsible decision for this. So we don't want to tell anyone go home or not. I mean, in the legislation rules, I think also there is there has been a time, or there is currently also in Bavaria, that go home, work from home if your position is not important. So we follow this for sure. But it's really important that we give in this diverse setup, everyone the choice, the responsible choice and freedom to decide. We have nice offices here, we're not Googles, but we have great working spaces. We have great canteens and food, and great experiences also of our products close by. But it's important that everyone can do their own responsible choice in choosing the working conditions and environment.
Jenny, how do you handle that at Hapag? Do you have the same strategy like Lisa has?
Similar. So first of all, yes, we want that the people come back to the office, but not in a way as it was before COVID. We are looking as well for hybrid working models because they combine the advantages of office work and mobile working, and there are good solutions. So you can reduce travel distances, you can organize your life in a more family-friendly way, and on the other side, you have a social contact with the team through presence days in the office. My opinion, the Bricks Bytes behavior model is a good solution to develop a hybrid working environment. Means bricks to create an environment that offers more added value than the home for some tasks. So to have flexible workspaces that are adapted to the activities of the employees, like workstations, coffee corners, lounges, and so on. Then it's important to have an appropriate technology, to have a convenient way to check mails, your calendar, to have virtual meetings from anywhere. So it's the prerequisite to work hybrid and at least to have a shared corporate vision. So to have a good change management and to explain the new approaches as a shared vision to the company and the employees, to involve them and to support them as well in restructuring. So this is the model that we prefer and started to build at Hapag-Lloyd.
Lisa, as you said about hybrid work, you're at BMW building cars, and you cannot do that from the home office. So there will be always departments who have to be in the office, in the factory, production happening. Is there a special way? What's something you would recommend there?
I think that was our biggest difference also when the first wave was. There was a clear commitment and acknowledgement that we have a lot of people that are unable to do home office, and the plant workers are the backbone of our business, because we sell cars and not PowerPoints, right? And we wanted to encourage them to feel safe, and also wanted them to feel that it's not a two-sided community. So we're all one part of the business. So also some of the top managers regularly came into office under the COVID regulations to also show our face and support on these people, and also thanks to the people that every day stand here in the plant and work. Also, we implemented COVID regulations and safety regulations. But yeah, they cannot do home office. So it was important to show a joint workforce here.
Jenny, before we're coming to the last question, I would just ask one thing about networking. So as we're all members at Mission Female, at the Female Leaders Network, what would you say is like, how important is networking? So within the company and outside the company, for new leaders, do you think it's an important role to concentrate as well on networking for a leader?
Completely. Yes, it's pretty important because you can meet like-minded people, so you can use a network to develop yourself professionally, and you could exchange ideas with people who understand your day-to-day work, so you can expand your competence. And you can present yourself as an expert. Our networks are as well good because you can find role models in there. So you can meet ideally people who are already where you want to be in future. So, and you can learn from these role models and benefit from their experience. And at least it's as well good for job opportunities. In my experience, a good professional network is one of the decisive factors when it comes to filling top positions. So there are more advantages than disadvantages not to network.
Thank you. Lisa, what do you think about networking inside and outside the company?
Yeah, I think it's super important. And just to add on, it's not just for leaders or if you're in a senior management position. I think especially when you're new to a company, it's important to get to know people also cross functional departments and also external, to really check on who can help me, who is an inspiring person in a totally different field. So not coming from the automotive industry, for example, but from marketing or financing, so that we always keep our minds fresh and learn from each other. I think that's very, very important also in the beginning of a career.
So we're coming to the last question. Thank you both very much, Lisa and Jenny, for your insights and the thoughts you have shared with us. My last question is just a really short one. If you have two advice to give to new leaders to lead successfully in 2022 and the next years ongoing as well, what would be the 2 points you would advise to be a good new leader? Lisa, could you start, please?
Yes, not just also to leaders, but also I would say leave your comfort zone. So as a professional, if you want to develop your career, do also something which you didn't do the last 10 years with your team. Also grasp for the stars, do the great, cool project, not the one you're gonna rock anyways. And listen. I think this is really, really important. Listen to the attitude, the voices, listen to the words you receive. And also I like this tendency, if you have a new job, do 100 days listening kind of period. Yeah, check in what they are doing and then improve and changing.
Jenny, what are your top 2 points as an advice for new leaders?
I realize that Lisa and myself were in the same network because we have the same thoughts. So, my top advices are as well, leave your comfort zone regularly, try out new ways in leadership, and with a build, measure, learn approach. You will grow constantly and become a better leader. And the second one is similar to listen, is ask for feedback. So ask your employees, ask your boss, look for a mentor that could advise that you can constantly grow.
Thank you both very much for your insight. You said I've learned a lot and had a lot of interesting new insights as well. And to keep it to listen, and I think as well to ask the right questions to find a interesting and comfortable zone for your team. This is something which you could give as advice for all new leaders. So thank you very much, both of you. And as well to the people listening to us, I hope you as well had a nice time the last minutes listening to Lisa and Jenny and got some insights for your daily work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, Lisa, and Micah, our moderator. That was a really scintillating discussion. We're going to take a very short break now, and we'll see you back in 5 minutes for more sessions with Google, Meta, Snapchat, and Oguri. Our grateful thanks to our sponsors and media partners, Meta, Mission Female, and Adzine. Now for a presentation on how to excel mobile user experience, please welcome to your screen Google's Mobile Growth Lead, Sebastian Grebasch.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the session What Users Want, where I want to talk about how best practice mobile UX can help you to increase conversions and in general make more out of the traffic that you've got on your mobile outlets like websites and apps alike. But before that, let me introduce myself. I'm Sebastian, a conversion specialist here at Google. And as that, my job is pretty much to help companies across all industries to make more out of the traffic that they either get from us or other companies. So to boost conversion rates, reduce bounce rates. And with that, I want to talk to you about basically what you can do to your mobile website, some of which is also applicable to apps, to actually increase conversion rates, especially on mobile websites, because there are a few things in there that's different from desktop. So let's jump right in. So first of all, let's understand what impacts conversion rate, like what is mobile UX, because it's far more than just design, what everybody's always talking about. So as you can see here, we've got this nice little pyramid, and on the let's say bottom layer of that pyramid, you see 3 sections. And those are the 3 sections that we think has an impact on mobile UX and make up for mobile UX as a whole. So you've got UI. So I did mention design briefly, which is kind of a rather important portion. And it's pretty much the stuff that people usually think about when you talk to them about UX. But there are 2 other things that play a vital role in improving usability across all devices. One of which is what we call Core Web Vitals. So it's basically website performance, website speed. So you can have the prettiest and most well-designed website in the world. If it takes forever to load, people will not use it and might not convert. And somewhat in between sits something that we call modern web, which is pretty much a headline, if you will, for all third-party technologies that can help you to either improve your performance or your design. And I want to dive into each and one of this a little bit with a little bit less focus on performance, because we could spend hours only talking about that. I will touch base on this as well. So let's start with stating the obvious, things that probably all of you know, at least from observing yourself using touchscreen devices, usually phones. So, and this is basically how people use their phones, or how people work touchscreens in 2022. So roughly half of it, as you can see on the left-hand side on the screen, is basically holding their phone in one hand and using the thumb of that very hand to actually work everything that's happening on the screen. And the rest is pretty much bringing in the other hand and basically working their phone on one way or the other, with one hand holding the phone, the other hand doing all the work. Why is that important? Because now understanding that most or many of the users are one-hand users, you can pretty much tell that it's kind of hard for those people to actually do what they want to do if your website is poorly designed. So these heat maps are quite common. So you might have seen them quite a bit, and there are a ton of variations from that. They all pretty much look alike. And what they show is basically what portions of the screen is easy to reach for the user if they're holding the phone in just one hand, and which are the areas of the screen that are not as easy to reach, or not, or that the user is not able to reach at all. So which is basically the red areas, as you can see. And those differ from screen type to screen type, which is important to understand, because people have different phones. And even though, at least in our industry, you also always see these high-end phones with those larger screens, it's quite interesting to see that a smaller viewport are still basically make up for the majority of screens that you find in the market, at least in Germany. But from what I've seen, it pretty much goes across all markets. So when you design for websites, for mobile websites, have the smaller viewports in mind. Make sure that all the important call to action elements are in that green area, so easy to reach for the user. And make sure, and this is also something that is interesting to understand, knowing that those people use the thumb as their device of choice, make sure that all your vital interaction elements, the most important call to actions, are of a decent size so that people actually hit on target when they try to hit. So that was basically setting the scene, if you will, stating the obvious. Let's go a little bit deeper into basically how people behave while doing purchases, while trying to convert, while doing whatever they want to do when visiting your brand or your service. So we've all learned that there's a user journey, which is always represented as a funnel, right? So a linear path, if you will, that people go through with the awareness phase in the beginning, people getting to know a brand or an offering, and the purchase and the loyalty phase at the very end. So what's quite interesting to understand is that even though those different phases are perfectly valid, and this is actually what people go through when they're making a buying decision and buying in the end, they don't basically maneuver that path in a linear way. And this is basically what we call the messy middle. So especially during the exploration and the evaluation phase, people go back and forth all the time, looking at different brands, different products, even from your own brand, comparing offers, trying to make an educated decision, which means that especially in that middle area, that messy middle area, you need to put a lot of extra focus to win the client over another brand, or maybe even over one of your other products of yours, which is why I want to focus a little bit on this messy middle part, like the exploration and the evaluation phase, and talk a few sentences about basically the purchase phase as well. And I want to just focus or highlight a few best practices that you should all incorporate when designing with that messy middle in mind, because there's a ton of other stuff that you can do, but due to the sake of time, let's focus on the most important ones. So let's start with the exploration phase. Again, this is where people get to know who you are and what you have in stock and what you have to offer. And there are two main roadblockers on the way that make people drop off in that very early phase of their user journey. One is what we call scrolling fatigue. So people do not want to scroll. They don't want to scroll in order to find out if your brand is the place to go, if your brand is the one that they want to interact with, if your offer is the one they want to purchase. So make sure that all the important information happens in the viewport, in the visible area. Don't make people scroll just to find the basic information around who you are. And I will elaborate a bit on this on the next slide. The second big topic is, I've said it before, is site speed. So make a great first impression by allowing the user to find what they're looking for in no time. Like, don't let them wait for your web page to load or to run stable. Make sure that everything runs smooth and stable so that they actually don't get annoyed or impatient and then move away just because of that. So we've talked about scrolling fatigue quite a bit. So what does that mean? There are basically 3 questions that you need to answer in the above the fold area on every page that makes a first impression to the user. So every landing page, your homepage, everything where users first get to know you, 3 questions that you need to answer. First, who are you? And what do you have to offer? Second of all, why should I do business with you and not your competition? Like, why can I trust you? And last but not least, where can I learn more? Where can I purchase? What do I have to do next? And those 3 questions are to be answered fairly easy. Like the question who you are and what you have to offer, that's the easiest to answer. You can just show people what your business is about. You can tell them by writing text, having a proper headline and whatnot. So that's the easiest to tackle. The second one, like, why should I trust you? This is where it gets a little bit tricky, because this is where your value proposition comes into play. And the value proposition is not necessarily your marketing statement. It's everything that you can tell somebody to generate trust and reduce anxiety. So make sure that people understand as early as possible what they're buying into and why you are a trustworthy partner for everything they want to do. And last but not least, the where bit, like, where can I learn more? This is also something that most people nail straight away. Like, have a great and prominent call to action in the above the fold area, so that people know where to tap and where to click in order to progress in the funnel, learn more, get more information, or even do the purchase right away. So let's go over to the evaluation phase. This is where people actually, once they understood your offering, try to make up their mind if it's a good offer or not. And you can actually make it easy for them to do so, and basically make them lean towards doing business with you rather than any other brand. Like, first of all, again, only 2 rather vital things that come to mind here. First of all, people compare not just you to other brands, but even within your overall offering. They want to understand what's the best package, the best product for me. And you can make it easy by allow for fragmented comparison, or to basically don't have fragmented comparison. So basically make it easy for people to compare different offers on your site in order to understand what's the best option for them. And last but not least, and this is very retail heavy here, it's really important that you bring items to life. Again, we talk about smaller screens here, So you cannot rely on big images. So make sure that the images that you have for your services and your products, that those images pop and people understand exactly what they're getting into and what they're buying into. So those 3 points, please keep that in mind in order to nail the evaluation phase. Then we've got the purchase phase. So there are also 2 main things that I want to point out here. First thing that keep people from purchasing is information blindside. So learning about different factors or additional costs, if you will, quite late in the funnel. So people will abandon cart and will drop off the checkout if they learn of service costs or shipping costs only in the funnel, only in the checkout funnel, sorry. So please be very vocal and very open about basically any additional costs that make up for the entire service or purchase costs, like as early as possible, so that people will not get this unpleasant surprise when they're already ready to check out. And last but not least, this is a rather technical thing. So it's pretty hard to type on smaller screens. We all might know this. So there are a few technologies that help you or help your users in order to not having to type so much. So autofill being one of the most prominent. So make sure to use all of these technologies like autofill to make it easier for people to check out. I have a few tips on that later in that presentation as well. And this is for the design bit. And even though I don't want to spend too much time on performance optimization, I just want to make sure that it's heard, because this is as important as the entire design piece. So basically, again, let's think in questions. Let's imagine what your users ask themselves while waiting for your website to load. So there are again 3 questions that people might ask themselves. Like, 1, is anything happening at all? Like, is your web page loading at all? Second of all, can I interact with it yet? Like, is everything that's shown already interactive? And last but not least, does it run stable as an indicator of, is it done loading? And all of these 3 questions can be basically measured or answered with one performance KPI, which is what we call the Core Web Vitals, and which is basically a subset of performance KPIs that is truly customer-centric. So LCP measures how long does it take for the largest element in the viewport of your website to load. And large does not mean as in size, as in bytes, but rather the element that covers the biggest portion of the screen, your largest image, your largest headline, you name it. So how long does it take for that to load? So be faster than 2.5 seconds and you're good to go. Is it responsive? It's basically measuring how much time it takes for a link to be displayed and to be fully functional. So basically, how long do I have to wait for a call to action to be displayed until I can actually tap on it and something happens? And last but not least, for stability, it's something we call cumulative layout shift, which measures basically what portion of your website still moves around by other content loading in later. So we all know this worst case examples where you want to tap on a link and just right before you want to actually hit the target, a banner loads in, moves everything to the bottom, and you either don't hit at all or you hit something that you did not intend to hit. And you basically end up at a completely other link than the one that you intended to have. So, and this is basically everything that I want to talk about this. We can actually spend much more time on this. Just to show you that this is important, we've got a couple of case studies for the performance piece. This is one from Vodafone. They actually spent quite some effort and time to actually improve those Core Web Vitals, and basically saw that the cart to visit rates moved up by 11% and lead to visit by even 15%. So definitely something worth looking into, because there clearly is an impact on business metrics, and you should all have performance in mind when you talk about UX, not just the design bit. And last but not least, as the 3rd bucket that I was basically introducing in the very beginning, let's talk modern web technologies. Again, there's a couple of different technologies that we can talk about. So let's focus on 3 for today. So we've got everything that hovers around identity services, we've got payment, and we've got basically service worker technologies, all of which can help you to even to improve your user experience or your usability of your website even more if done right. So let's talk about identity services first. Like, there are a couple of issues that usually comes with people wanting to create an account or wanting to log in. Like, let's look at the left-hand side here. It's like the first issue is user login is usually pretty cumbersome. Sign-in is even more cumbersome. So you basically sign up, enter your email, decide for a password, get an email, basically to confirm your account, and then you you get redirected back to the session, and then you basically continue to do whatever you want. So it takes quite a bit. Then the second issue that we're facing is users cannot remember passwords, or they don't want to, which either means that they're using the same password over and over again on different services, or they just can't remember the first time they try to log in and then just drop out because of that. And last but not least, there are security concerns with users, of course. So basically, especially if you're a brand that's new to the users, people might not feel fully comfortable in basically providing all the data to you if they don't know fully who you are, or they never made basically an experience with your brand. And social sign-in solutions, we have Google Sign-in here as an example. Social sign-in solutions can pretty much help with all of these. So let's look at the issues again. A cumbersome user sign-in or user login, you can completely eradicate that, because social sign-in only requires one step for people to sign up or to sign in. Second of all, people are not willing or capable to remember passwords. You can also get rid of that quite easily, because they will log in through an account they already know, and they have the credentials for that. And the users concerned with security, this can be tackled with allowing users to log in through a service that they already know and trust. Otherwise, they would not have that account with that service. And overall, you can basically see a positive business impact on by using all of these different technologies. So to give you one example here, so this is an example from Get Your Guide, who are using Google's One-Tap solutions, which is pretty much the next generation iteration of our login services. And what they basically saw just from implementing that, they were able to basically double the amount of accounts that were created without losing in session or account quality, if you will, at all. So make it easier for people to log in, and you will most definitely increase the amount of accounts that are created for your services. And you will definitely increase the amount of users or customers that you can actually create. It's a similar thing with payment. So again, you might have already guessed it. So let's talk about third-party payment solutions here, because what they allow you to do is also allow you to have a way leaner checkout than the one that you usually have. On average, in e-commerce checkouts, you have to follow 5 to 7 steps before to fully check out. So you have to provide your shipping information, delivery options, payment informations. You have to sign in first, maybe. Then you have to double check if everything's in the clear, and then you're good to check out. And basically, third-party payment solutions such as Google Pay here, but let's also name Apple Pay or PayPal or whatever's out there, can actually help you to reduce that path of the journey to, well, as little as one step, if you will. So you can quite easily copy the one-step checkout that Amazon, for instance, offers, just by introducing third-party payment solutions such as Google Pay. And you can see it here in that example. So basically, the user wants to check out, hits buy with Google Pay, gets all the information displayed that is already stored and assigned to their Google account. They just have to double check if everything is correct and the one that they want to have. You can make adjustments, of course. Hit confirm, and you're good to go. So you pretty much eradicate all of those steps that I was talking about earlier and let users check out fairly easy and fairly quick. And last but not least, let's talk about service workers. So basically, service workers are what make up for a progressive web app, which you might have heard about. So, but let's not use the term PWA for now. Let's really talk about service workers, because you don't have to use all of them. You can quite easily mix and match the ones that really make sense for your users. And service workers either have an impact on, well, the design and the usability of your website, or the performance of your website. And I just want to go through them really quick so that you understand what you can actually add to your website in order to make it even more usable and even more user-friendly. Like, first of all, and this is the one that we all probably know, is basically service workers allow you to send push notifications through your website. So you can basically use what you have for your app in order to reactivate, do marketing campaigns while sending push notifications through your website. The two marked in blue on this slide here is basically are the ones that allow you for boosting your performance even more, either through prefetching or through caching. So, which pretty much helps you to actually offer an even faster experience for users who return for the second, third, or fourth time. Then you've got offline browsing, which does not mean please switch off your internet. You can work your website anyway. This is basically for a situation that we all probably have witnessed or experienced before, when you're on the train, on the bus, or whatever, and somehow your connection gets shaky, or you even lose it for half a minute or a minute. This offline browsing service workers allows you to don't let people know that they're offline at the moment by basically making different portions of your website, different elements of your website available offline, so that they can still basically work the website while they're losing connections, even if it's just for like a couple of seconds. And last but not least, we've got the access from home screen bit, which is the one that moves your website quite close to an app. So it allows you to actually display a prompt that would allow people to create a shortcut on the home screen of their phone. So if they want to come back to your website, they don't have to open the browser. They can just hit that shortcut, and your website will be displayed in a beautiful full screen experience. Kind of looks like an app with similar performance uplifts that you see from apps versus websites, shown in this example from Weekend Desk from France. So basically, they saw a 2.5 times higher conversion rate from users coming from the shortcut, as opposed to those who enter it through the browser regularly and basically trying to do business with Weekend Desk there. So to sum up quite nicely, there's 4 key takeaways that I have for you. First of all, understand your users and create personalized experience based on their needs. So don't design with product in mind, design with the user in mind. That's what I'm trying to say. Second of all, maintain a testing culture to continuously improve the usability of your website or apps. Like, there should ideally not be a single day where there's not a test that runs somewhere on your website. Third, monitor and optimize the performance of your website because, and I cannot stress this enough, it's a major part of your website's user-friendliness. And last but not least, consider using modern web technologies to offer an even better experience to your users. And this, I hope, helped. Thank you so much for listening, and take care, everybody. Bye.
Thank you very much, Sebastian, for so many wonderful and tangible insights. Here to share the case study of Ekes Granini about mobile video marketing, please welcome Chai Sintuare, Chief Digital Officer at Ekes Granini, and Siros Ghaffari, Head of Industry CPG for Food and Beverages at Meta.
Hello and welcome to an MMA Masterclass session on impact. My name is Siros Ghaffari. I'm the Head of Industry for the Food and Beverage business for Meta in the DACH region. And I'm grateful to be joined by Chaichana Sintuare, who's the Chief Digital and Media Officer at Ekes Granini. Hello, Chai.
Hello, thank you, Cyrus. Thank you, MMA, for having me.
So thanks for being here. We're going to talk about the subject of scaled investments on mobile video. So I'm going to present a status quo of research that we have on the subject and an outlook and a new piece of research with a case study with Chai. Taking a look at the agenda, we'll take a look at the research goal and journey, how we see it. Move then to a recap of video impact studies that we've produced in the last years. The third point will be on something called the volume response meta study, which is an aggregated study with campaigns that have a scaled investments on the platform and its ROI impact. And last but not least, we take a look at the outlook on video research as we have it on the roadmap. I would love to start the presentation with our corporate mission, which is to give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. This holds true, of course, on the human and human connection that we pursue, but also it holds true for the human and brand and advertiser connection that we pursue to build bridges for. We are doing this in an efficient way, in a relevant and an impactful way. So taking a look at the environment where we place ads and we place content, it's of course 90+% mobile, by far the biggest chunk of content and advertising, and we are highly believing in artificial intelligence to help us to pursue a very relevant and structured piece of content delivery as well as ad delivery. which brings us to the point that the goal to pursue a very relevant piece of ad is matched, and we are getting better and better every year. And the second piece of the goal is, of course, to help advertisers in the mobile space to transform marketing grounded in data and science in an impactful way, in the definition that we mostly look at the KPIs like brand impact and/or sales impact to support the clients with, which is fine and holds true for each and every strategy that we support our partners with. And a piece of consultancy that is relevant in this space, as we see it, is to be able to support businesses to bring them closer to the development and change of our consumers. On the horizontal, you see the time frame. On the vertical, you see the rate of change. Things like public policy is something that is changing rather slow. Things like technology is rapidly changing. And what we observe also in the space is that individuals are most of the time changing faster than businesses. And the consultative goal is really, we believe, in the space to help businesses getting as close as possible to the change of consumers. How far are we with this, and how is the industry moving? So this is a quite observable chart that we have here based on the Global Web Index and study we commissioned, whereby you see the dark purple part of the graph is the average time spent of a consumer on a certain media type. You see the light purple a piece of the graph, which is the average media investment on that media type. And what we can observe pretty quickly is that mobile as a category is way under-indexed. So a reading example here would be 23% of the consumer's time on average is spent on mobile, but the industry spends only around 3% of their media investments on that ad category. So this is an under investment by far, which shows that we are not there as a mobile industry where we should be. And if we talk about money follows eyeballs, which is the classical one of the classical phrases that we have in the industry, we see that we are not there yet as an industry, and also the advertisers are not there yet, whereby we see other media types are way more over-invested versus the time spent. So this is, we believe, a piece of change that will follow year by year, inevitably. So how does this come across? We see, of course, through the media fragmentation and the change in usage behavior, that we do not have a prime time as of, let's say, 8:15 on TV, where the whole family is in front of the TV and is looking, a monomedia type of consumption. But we see through the device explosion of amount of devices that are circling among consumers, that we have a lot of devices, a lot of usage, on average in Germany, at least a 2-hour consumption per day. We see that advertisers and partners can reach their consumers throughout the day, which of course is one reason for the time. So it's really a prime time, anytime situation. And on the second chart on the subject is, even if we take a look at a prime time situation, and this is the most favorable show and the show with the largest reach number in Germany, breakdown in minutes. And you see the orange vertical lines are the ad breaks, the TV ad breaks. And you see the blue line is the consumption of any of our platforms aggregated. So what you see here is that even within a prime time situation, in the media breaks, there is an increased consumption of mobile in this research of Facebook and Instagram, which leads to the interpretation that we are by far not having a monomedia consumption, but we have a multimedia consumption that are interlinked with each other, which makes mobile as a category even more interesting in future to work out the synergies between mobile and other media types. So this is the one part of the aspect where time is spent, and the other time of the aspect, and this is only a subset of a study that I have brought with me today, is who are the people that we have in the mobile space, who are the mobile users, and how do they differ to the total population or to the linear TV stations. And this is a study we commissioned with the GfK, which takes a look at around 34 to 36 studies, and this output 35 studies on average of the deep dive on the audience. So what we see here on the very right column is the comparison of the population on Instagram and Facebook versus TV, and how Facebook and Instagram users are over or under indexing to the aspect that we are looking on. And on the very left side, we see the category. So what we see here is around Facebook and Instagram, that the over-indexed part of the audience is between, so everything under 20 to around 49, and Instagram and Facebook are under-indexing on people who are 50 plus versus TV. So sticking at the right column, taking a look at another category, what we see here is that the users on Facebook and Instagram are over-indexing on the household sizes 3+, and are under-indexing on the household sizes 1 and 2 person households versus TV, as a reading example. And on this example, taking a look at income levels, Instagram, Facebook's over-indexing on households that are having 3,000 euros plus income, and under-indexes everything under this income level. So this is just a piece of information on 3 sample categories. We've looked at much more, but this is interesting for the category to take a look at where time is spent, who is spending the time on mobile, and where is this acceleration coming from. And also in the next part, taking a look at how this time is spent. So at least on our mobile inventory and the video ecosystem that we have really taken a look at the consumer behavior, which is twofold. It's A, looking at long form videos, which is getting more and more traction on our platforms with in-stream ads as an example. And we have the short form video content and of course the on-the-go video consumption, which goes along with short form video ads as well, and content pieces. So this is really the video ecosystem that we are looking on when we take a look at consumption, which is really multidimensional and really covering different situations throughout the day for user engagement. And we believe highly, and this is a rightful ask of the industry, to take a look at measurement and content quality next to the reach aspect of media, which is a total fair ask. And this is really something that we are taking a look at as an industry, but also as a company here at Meta, together with, of course, third-party verifying partners like Nielsen, like GfK, like Kantar, and like all others that you see on the slide, which we take very serious at, and not only researching the platform as such, but also really the category of other online players, mobile players, but also cross-media and cross-digital, also the linear TV and online video and search and all other media types. So a quick recap on the video impact studies. This is something that most of you would probably know of. We have commissioned a study with the GfK and a lot of CPG partners. This will be a CPG example today, where we took a look at 14 studies and 14 different brands, whereby we took a look at ROI, sales impact, and incremental reach. So the summary of this was 11 out of 14 campaigns worked very well with positive sales uplifts. We have around 1/3 of the investments that are incremental to TV. And of course, the outlook on this was also multimedia contacts are more worth than monomedia contacts, where we have Facebook and Instagram plus TV contact. That category and cluster was 2x higher sales lifts compared to TV only contacts. So multimedia contact really drives the synergy that we see in the marketplace. This is the one summary. We did this as well with retail clients, which was also interesting to see that the learnings of the video impact on mobile is confirmed across category. It is confirmed with CPG. It is confirmed also with retail clients. And rightfully so. And this is the subject that is up to date right now and really at the core of research. What we're looking at is, while we have very, very competitive ROIs to other media groups and also driving incremental reach, the industry rightfully asked, okay, how can we make use of this positive ROIs on mobile, on digital channels, and in our case on Instagram and Facebook, and scale this up? Where do we hit the diminishing return? Yeah, coming from a relatively low investment versus classical TV, how can we scale this up? And is there any sort of diminishing returns if we double or triple, quadruple the investment? So how bold can we be in using the positive ROI? So this was really at the core question. How can we drive the sales volume based on the positive ROIs, remain efficient, and design an overall better media mix? And this is a piece of research that I brought here with me, which is a meta study based on 13 CPG brands in the EMEA region and different markets, where we analyzed exactly the subject of scaled investments on mobile to see if there is any ROI dynamics that we would not expect. So this is the summary of the outcome. So taking a look at the brands in 2018, we had a roughly, let's say, 13% share of media, which drove 22% of sales volume. Moving into 2019 and 20, we had around 24% share of media within those brands that drove 30% of sales volume. And in this test, really scaling up the investments, we scaled it up to 39% on average share of media, with a disproportionately high still drive of sales volume, with an ROI that was, yes, a bit lower, but it still didn't hit diminishing returns to get negative. So it's still attached with a positive ROI of $1.46, which was a huge success for us and also for our partners to increase their overall ROI in the mix. And this is just a subset of different angles that we touched. We took a look at Instagram and Facebook only campaigns, really driving scaled investments, TV-like investments on the platform. We saw still a positive ROI by 1.5. So this really removed the myth that any mobile platform, or in our case, Instagram and Facebook, need elite media to work. We proved this wrong. We proved that even on an isolated media plan, where we put some TV-like investments on the platforms, it can work on its own. We also had campaigns cross-media, where we had TV as well as Instagram and Facebook in the mix, and also cross-digital campaigns we had as well. Some examples where YouTube and other colleagues were in the mix as well, and still the scaled investments on our platform proved to work well. And I'm happy that I have Chai today with me, who's presenting his case on HSC at Eckes Granini on the campaign that he supported, which is a cross-channel inclusion of meta platforms, Instagram and Facebook, with TV in the media mix, scaling the investments of meta platforms up to a TV-like level with quite interesting outcomes. Chai, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Cyrus, and thank you for us the opportunity to participate in the journey and present here to the MMA Impact Days. Hi, everyone. As already introduced, my name is Chai, and I'm the Chief Digital and Media Officer at Eckes Gradini. We are the leading supplier of fruit juice and fruit beverages in Europe, and you may know Granini, Hosea, Joker, Pago, or many more of our international and local fruit juice brands. And together with my team, we are responsible for our group-wide digital strategy, media excellence, e-commerce acceleration, and to identify the most efficient and effective ways to interact with our consumers across Europe. So for us, it was a no-brainer to participate in this study. And we are fully aware that the evolution of media and digitalization requires continuous evaluation of our strategies and implementation tactics. So therefore, consumer centricity plays an important role in our day-to-day business. We're understanding new platforms and how they impact shopping behaviors and media consumption of our consumers is key for us. And we aim at reaching all our audience across the spectrum of age groups in the most cost-efficient and effective way. So in other words, we aim for reach, efficiency, brand equity, and of course, sales. Next chart, please. And to learn and improve as a group, we team up with leading industry partners such as Meta. And for years now, what you can see here on this chart, we are having a fruitful cooperation with them, including a joint learning agenda for our media research. And in 2020, we initiate our first research to learn about the ROI of Facebook and Instagram in comparison to broadcast TV. And the results we see on the next chart. And the pilot test was implemented on a Gradini campaign in Germany and in collaboration with the research company GfK. And from this case, we have learned that Facebook and Instagram can deliver significant sales uplift and contribution to our overall campaign objectives by adding exclusive reach, incremental to broadcast TV. And those results were encouraging for us to reapply and investigate further in this area. And that's what we did in the next chart. And then we aligned with Cyrus and his team and with Meta. So for our follow-up research case, we used the insights and tests to what extent we could make use of the positive ROI on Facebook and Instagram, ideally without major loss of efficiency. And this was a key business question for us. And we have chosen another major campaign for this research where we could extend our investment on Facebook and Instagram to a 7-figure investment. And comparing it with broadcast TV spent for that same campaign. So that's what you see here. And a campaign that was twice as large as the last campaign we did for Granini, what I showed previously from the previous year. And therefore we had to reevaluate in terms of potential performance values, scalability of the platforms, and their potential marginal utility. And that was the idea in this research here. And the results we will show you in the next chart. And this was the results of the study we want to share today with you guys. And we're super happy to participate in this study. And what you can see here on this chart is that the chosen campaign for this research was for our Hosea Plus Immune brand. So it's a delicious juice of grapes, grapefruits, and cranberries with valuable nutrition such as vitamin C and zinc. And these contribute to the normal function of the immune system and protect your body for active life. And maybe it's a relevant benefit for many of our audiences in times of a pandemic, as we believe from Eckes Gradini. Reflecting our target audience interest in active and healthy living, the creative concept of the campaign translated that into a series of dance and sports assets. And that series includes, but was not limited to, short and catchy vertical video assets, fitting the platform different channels, and a predominant consumption of mobile devices. Also, the variety of assets allowed us to address different subsegments of our audience with individual messaging and to do A/B testing, of course. And the results you can see here is clearly exceeded our expectations. And it was great to see that a scaled investment on Facebook and Instagram delivered an improved overall ROI for that campaign. So we're reaching 22 million people net on Facebook and Instagram with reasonable frequency, all at a competitive cost per GRP compared to broadcast TV. And what we really like is on top, the research manifest on 11% sales uplift among users reached on Facebook and Instagram versus 4% for broadcast TV. So most importantly, we will achieve the very positive annual ROI of 1.6 times, which was significantly higher than TV's ROI with equal 7-digit investment. And again, the case has proven for us that being bold and testing new approach with decent research was worth our investment. So following on that, we shared those insights across our group and already prospect for a new research case, for example, a digital or even mobile first campaign somewhere in Europe. And this is our campaign. So thanks for participating, thanks for listening, and handing back to Cyrus.
Thank you so much, Chai. This is really, you're really on the forefront of research with this. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful case. So what is the outlook? The journey never ends. We believe the journey is 1% finished, and so it is also on the subject of research. One of the next steps in our research journey is to research around long-form video and how it can impact and support an ROI growth model. We take a look at the case of Chai. 85% of the investment was on skippable assets, vertical videos, and 15% of the investment on horizontal non-skippable ads, which proved to be extraordinarily successful. And so this is a subject that we take a look at on long-form video in the mix, but also isolated, if this can be an ROI growth model for our partners in future. Another point is the research not only on short-term ROI, but on long-term sales lift and ROI. So what is the impact of mobile video on brand metrics that are influencing base sales? And what is really the long-term impact of advertising is a subject that we are taking a look at, and it's important to manifest the power of mobile and mobile advertising in the industry even further. The third aspect is the support of more granular MMM models. We believe to move stronger from static models into dynamic models, where we not only take a look at results if a platform works or does not work and how strong it works, but also using MMM models for test and learn, breakout campaigns, placements, and other aspects within MMM models to gain more learnings. Another aspect is the subject around brand measurements. If we take a look at the industry, we have vast proof on cross-media reach, aspects around cost per point, cost per GRP, and a cross-media comparison, and also cross-digital. We have in the CPG and retail business, at least, also vast proof on sales impact and ROI across media types. Where we are having a big opportunity to research even more is the impact of different media types on brand metrics. And not only the impact, but also the synergies. We believe there is a big point of research needed still. And last but not least, an important point would be to deep down on creative. We know that creative has a big part of influencing share in the results. There are different numbers out there. One number on hand from Nielsen is there's a 56% of impact share of creative on the overall campaign impact. So it's obviously a big factor in the success. And this is something where we believe, in context of the fast changing consumer behavior on mobile, we need to stick tight to this change and also to an optimum creative strategy for our partners moving along the time. So these are really the points that we will research further. Thank you so much, Chai, for being part of the session. It was a pleasure to have you. Thanks for presenting the case. We're looking forward to even drive your research agenda even further down the line with these points and others. So thank you so much for being with us, everyone, and have a nice day.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
What a terrific and highly relevant showcase that was. Thank you so much, Chai and Cyros. Now listen to Jan Müller, Sector Lead Performance at Snap, showing us how augmented reality is changing the shopping experience.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's session. I'm going to be talking about the augmented shopping reality, e-commerce on Snapchat. And I'm really happy that I get the chance today to talk to you about this because it's really close to my heart. My name is Jan Müller. I'm Performance Sector Lead at Snap. What that means is within the German-speaking markets, I'm responsible for all of the performance-oriented business Snapchat does with enterprise-scale clients, so the really big clients that are performance marketing-oriented. And of course, in that context, e-commerce is really close to my heart, as well as AR. So without further ado, let me introduce you to today's agenda. We're going to be talking about e-commerce in general, and also e-commerce as it relates to Snapchat. And then we're going to talk about an intro into Snapchat and also into the ad formats on Snapchat. Then we're going to dive into what gives this entire session its name, AR shopping. And then I'm going to give you some recommendations. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. So e-commerce has been booming. When you look at the development of e-commerce share of the sales of total retail within a time span of about 10 years, the e-commerce share went from 15% in Q1 2010 to 44% in Q2 2020. So that has completely exploded. Why? Of course, the pandemic has played its role, but also because e-commerce has become more and more convenient and more relevant. And the ways with which retailers and e-com retailers have been reaching out to users and making their products and services available has just become more and more relevant. And this pandemic situation has been going on for almost 2 years now. And the pendulum is going to swing back some, but most of the developments here are sticky. The users, once they're used to the convenience of e-commerce, they're going to stick with it and going to keep using e-commerce solutions. And when we look at the growth, just 2020 year-over-year growth, we see that worldwide, the e-commerce sales have been growing about 17%, 16.5 to be exact, when we're using the Shopify survey. And Western Europe has been above average, as well as North America and Latin America, while Asia Pacific has been below average, which is not really surprising because Asia Pacific is just so much further down the road of e-commerce penetration. So, growing very quickly on a high basis is going to be tougher. But also when we look at a different data point, this time from eMarketer, we see 28% year-over-year growth for 2020. But that's not the point. It's not about if it's 20, 28, or 18%. It's the point that this growth is fundamentally large, but also it's continuing. We expect to see final results of 2021 to be at 5 trillion, so significantly higher than in 2020, and even higher for 2024, so almost 50% higher in 2024 versus 2020. So it's about $6 trillion in e-commerce sales globally, which is just huge. And what's really important is the smartphone is actually the driving force of the e-commerce growth here. 84% of users would say they browsed an online retailer via mobile in the past month. But when you also look at just mobile commerce is growing 40% faster than e-commerce in general. So it's really outpacing the entire development, which is not surprising. Users who have smartphones tend to be a bit younger, a bit more digital savvy, and therefore have a higher likelihood also of just buying goods and services online. So the mobile commerce business is growing, it's outpacing the e-commerce business. And when we look at Gen Z and millennials, two demographics who are really prone to mobile usage actually say their smartphone is either the preferred channel for purchases, or it's with them on every single purchase. So their smartphone is wherever they take it, wherever they make a purchase, it's involved, either as the channel in which they're buying, or the device that's going to accompany them on their purchasing behavior. And now let's look into how this plays out for Snapchat. Now, we have a significant reach in Europe when we look at various markets. In Germany alone, we reach more than 13 million monthly addressable unique users. 80% of 13 to 24-year-olds in Germany can be reached on a given month, and that is just a very, very high share of this commercially attractive and young audience that is hard to reach anywhere else. In France, for example, Snapchat is not only large, it's the largest app, not just the largest social app, it's the largest app there is. And about more than 70% of all smartphone users in Norway use Snapchat. So the penetration in really commercially attractive markets is really, really high. And who's using Snapchat? Well, it's the Snapchat generation. And the Snapchat generation is really using it for all kinds of purposes, mostly to stay in touch, express themselves and have fun. But also when it comes to expressing themselves, it also means expressing their beliefs in equality, in social justice, in the Black Lives Matter movement. And let's look at the Snapchat generation in more detail. How do they use Snapchat? Actually, in short, a lot. So the average daily active user uses Snapchat and opens Snapchat more than 30 times a day. And they use Snapchat more than 30 minutes a day. So when you think about it, 30 minutes a day is actually a lot. You have 24 hours at hand. Hopefully you spend 8 hours sleeping, meaning you have another 16 hours that you could actually do anything that's not sleeping. Hopefully you're spending another hour or so at least on aggregate doing things that shouldn't involve a smartphone. So you're left with 15 hours max where you could even do anything on your smartphone. And having a 30-minute share of those 15 hours is a lot. That means we get 2 minutes of every single usable minute, 2 minutes of every single usable hour a day of those Snapchatters. And that is a lot of engagement. And they engage, and why do they use Snapchat that much? Because it offers a variety of aspects of the app where they feel they can draw value from. We have the Snapchat map, the Snapchat chat aspect, the camera, stories, and spotlight. And in the app, you have the mapping map space, which is, when you look at it, actually like it's a social version of any map application that you may know. It allows me to see where all of my friends all around the world that I'm interacting with on Snapchat are right now. I can see whether they're in a car or if they're at an airport, but I can also zoom into these heat maps that are on any space really on the globe. And I can tap on and see that there's a lot of public content being shared on Snapchat right there. And what I can do about that is I can see what people are doing right now on Venice Beach, what people are wearing right now in Paris or in Dubai. I can see what shoes are in style, what hats are in style, what jackets are in style. So it's really cool to discover trends. Now, the chat aspect is pretty straightforward. It's one of the key and core value adds of Snapchat is the interaction aspect. And what it allows me to do is it allows me to exchange about the latest purchases or the newest things that I might be considering to buy with my friends. So that aspect is really important. Now, the camera allows me to try on things. We'll get into that into much more detail, but this is a really, really exciting aspect, and AR is a core component of that. When we look at stories, the Discover part of our app allows me to just get a lot of product information and get a lot of context around products and services, because I will know what the latest collection is that just dropped on Zalando, for example, or I will know if there's 50% off on a really, really cool pair of shoes that somebody from a direct-to-consumer store is offering on Snap. And then last but not least, we have Spotlight, which is our vertical video feed, which just is the collection of the coolest and greatest videos that are being shared on Snapchat, and it's just really inspiring. And that's not just inspiring when it comes to moves and dances, it's also inspiring with regards to fashion style. So Snapchat offers a lot of variety, which makes it really relevant for context around e-com and buying decisions. And actually, it's not that surprising that Snapchatters are really confident mobile and in-app shoppers. Obviously, there's a selection bias. Snapchatters use a mobile-only platform, so they're already prone to being very, very mobile-friendly and very mobile-savvy. So it's not that surprising that 50% of Snapchatters make a purchase on a mobile at least once a month, or 60% of Snapchatters make in-app purchases. I actually think this is understated, because really this demographic of young users who use their smartphone a lot obviously are going to be very prone to making mobile purchases. Now, let's look at ads on Snapchat. Where can ads of any advertiser appear? Actually, they can appear in two parts of the app, in the camera or in our content. In the camera, it can be filters or AR, and we'll get into much more detail here, or it can be in the content where I'm going to be showing some sort of a video or image ad between the stories of my friends or shows that publishers make for Snapchat, or just influencer stories that I can see and view on Snapchat. Now let's look at the content side. There are two ad formats that I want to show you right away. The one on the right is called Snap Ads. It's the first programmatic advertising format that Snapchat introduced. I think it was late 2016 or early 2017 when you were able to programmatically buy a placement where you can either show a video ad, an image ad, or a GIF ad that at any point in time could be skipped, and at any point in time you could swipe up to land on a mobile shopping site or land in a mobile app that allows you to make purchasing decisions. But obviously that creative would be manually created by someone who's an expert at that. But that comes with manual labor. Dynamic ads takes this problem out of the equation. For dynamic ads, all you need really is a catalog of your products. It could even be a feed of your catalog feed. And what you can imagine this to be is like a big dynamic Excel file. And in that Excel file, we have all kinds of information. We know all of your products, all the product names, all the product prices, the brand that's included, and product pictures. And with all of this information, we can piece together creative, like the one you're seeing here, the Falcon shoes. We have 140 Canadian dollars. We have a picture of the product, etc. And this is not where it ends. We will not just randomly surface this to anyone. We will make sure that once I'm in the market for an impression of an ad, Snapchat will surface the most relevant product of the catalog to me, either in a retargeting or in a remarketing, in a retargeting or prospecting logic. In a retargeting logic, it would be because I've already been on that advertiser's website. I've already shown interest in that pair of shoes because I've added it to cart and didn't purchase. Or I've never been on their website. I behave very much like users who've already shown interest in that specific product. So that makes it not just very low touch, but also highly relevant. And then just that creates a significantly higher conversion rate. So really, really important, this product for e-commerce clients. Let's look at another pair of ad formats. Here we have collection ads on the left. Collection ads are kind of like Snap Ads, video, image, or GIF, and with 4 tile images at the bottom. And if I click on any one of those, I will be shown to the product page of that specific product. And I can immediately, within an app or within on a mobile website, just purchase that product and check out, and then keep watching any sort of content. And then there's story ads on Snapchat. Story ads is the advertiser's opportunity to have a story themselves, not to be shown with a single video or a single image between user stories, but rather have their own story, a collection of videos, a collection of images, one after another, showing the latest trends, the latest collection drop on a specific store, or all of the advantages of a specific sale. And you can get all kinds of context from these ads that allow you to just get more product information or just get really excited about the product that you might want to buy here. That was the ads in our content. Now let's look at the ads in our camera. And this already takes us to AR shopping. This is all about AR. Now, AR adoption is really in line with the mobile usage boom. We've seen mobile usage explode, and AR usage is also exploding. And by 2025, we expect that 60% of Germany's population will either already be using Snapchat or will be, 60% of Germany's population will be using AR, or all of the social and communication apps users will be using AR frequently. So like a very, very large chunk of users and people in our country will be using AR frequently. And why is that? Because it creates value. And Snapchat is at the forefront of this value creation. We have the daily active user on Snapchat uses AR 30 times a day. We have 200 million daily AR users, and about 1.5 million lenses have been created by our community. That means not by us, but by users who want to create AR experiences themselves. And that really means that Snapchat is not only democratizing the AR experience, but also the AR creation. And now, what we really want to say here is, what I really want to say is, AR is going from toy to tool. It's something that is not just only a wow effect, but it really creates value. People expect and desire it to use AR as a practical tool in their everyday lives. And it can be, and it is already. AR is not the future, it's right here. And we can already use it for all kinds of things, trying on things, trying on products on our face, but also on our feet, but also taking us to a place that doesn't really exist, but virtually can be created just for me. And this is really what I want to say is, experiencing something is better than just seeing something. Experiencing means believing. AR is the next evolution of ad formats. It started with text. I could only read about a product. It went to images and then went to video, where I could see products being used, but I can only imagine what it would be like for me. AR is the closest thing to actually owning or having a product in your hands, because it virtually allows you to do all things with this product, seeing it on your shoes, seeing it on your face, experiencing it from all kinds of angles on yourself. And that's why AR shopping lenses have a significantly higher intent lift than just a regular Snapchat campaign, because it gets you so much closer to the purchase, and therefore also so much closer to the purchase intent. But why AR? Well, you can use AR for all kinds of purposes. One thing is it just optimizes your returns. I mean, physically, the physical returns of your product. So you can experience any product at home by physically putting it where it would be in your home. In this case, a coffee machine. You could see where it would land, what it would look like on your desk, within your kitchen, and just experience what it would look like, and imagine how much it fits into the style of your apartment or home. But it also allows you to test things out yourself, be it nail polish or watches on your wrist. And it goes much further. Like, we can not only have you try something on, we can actually go further and say, okay, this is how it would look specifically on you with true size. We can know if a pair of glasses is going to look really big on you or small on you, because we're able to estimate your face size, your facial size, in relation to a pair of glasses. Now, glasses is where it starts, but at some point we'll be able to say, you can try out a pair of shoes or a jacket, and we'll be able to say we're 83% sure that you should be a large or a medium on this specific product. And what that means is you're going to have less returns, which is really, really important for e-com players, because that's a big cost driver. You can also drive new experiences on the point of sale. Now, for example, you can create a point of sale where there isn't one, especially in pandemic times where people can't or don't want to go to a physical store. You can bring the physical store to them virtually by allowing them to walk into one of your store experiences. In this example, Hoka, a sports brand that allows me not only to see the virtual store, but also allows me to try on a pair of shoes. Same goes for Uggs, that just allowed me to go through their virtual store, look at various products, tap on them, find out more about them, how they're called, maybe what their price is, and then even try on a pair of shoes at the very end of the experience. And this really goes a long way, especially in pandemic times. We might not be able to get everyone to visit physical stores anymore, but we can bring that physical experience that we've optimized over hundreds of years. We can bring that virtually into their living room if they want. And we even allow advertisers to have their own new mobile shop on Snapchat. We've launched public profiles in May of 2021, which is a profile of that any brand can own on Snapchat. And it allows you not only to store any highlight contents like stories or snaps or even spotlight videos, it also allows you to store AR experiences. But you can see this as a Kaufen button, buy button, purchase button that you can tap on. And once you do, it lands you into an experience that is that allows you to tap into the catalog that has been synced to a specific product profile. And then you can tap on any product and purchase it right there and then without your mobile website being linked to it. So this really takes the e-com experience outside of AR and further on an organic space that doesn't even have to be supported with ads. Now, what do I suggest? I would suggest test now. The experience from history is whenever there was a new revolutionary technology, those who actually tested it early, made experiences early, drew conclusions and iterated on them, those people and those institutions were favored by luck, favored by chance, and favored by success. So I would very much urge anyone, give it a shot, try it out, and reach out to us. We're really, really excited to work with all kinds of brands out there, and we're able to help all of you. So please reach out at any point in time and give it a shot with us. My name is Jan Müller. I was really, really excited to be talking to you about it today. And if you have any questions, just write me an email at jan@snap.com. Thank you so much for your time.
Many thanks, Jan, for such a fascinating insight into the future of shopping. Jan Heumüller, Managing Director at Oguri, and Charlotte Diemer, Global Head of Insights at Oguri, will now share how Volvo found and successfully engaged with the right mobile audience in Germany.
Welcome, and thanks a lot for joining our today's presentation, where we speak about how Volvo engaged the future automotive buyer in Europe with Oguri. Let me briefly introduce myself. I'm Jan Heumüller. I'm the Managing Director Central Europe at Oguri, and I'm responsible for the markets in the DACH region as well in the Benelux region. Charlotte, maybe you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlotte Diemer. I head up the Insights team at Oguri, based in London, but I basically look after anything that has to do with insights, research, and measurement across all Oguri offices.
Thank you, Charlotte. And let me kick the session off by presenting you the agenda of our today's presentation. Well, we want to start by giving you a briefly introduction into Oguri, who we are and how we work, before covering the digital advertising dilemma. Then Charlotte will present you some automotive industry insights that we actually gathered for you. And in the end, I'm going to present you a case study about cooperation with Volvo that we had in Germany before closing the session with some final considerations. So who is Oguri? Oguri was created 7 years ago, and at this time we became a global technology leader in brand mobile advertising. We are a global company present on 4 continents with 18 offices in 14 countries. Right now we employ more than 470 employees, out of whom we have more than 100 developers and engineers which are building our technology. We are basically the only partner who can offer you in-app and in-web inventory. With all our publishing partners, we have direct tech and SDK integrations. We offer our product on a programmatic as well as a managed service base, and we are purely mobile optimized technology. Because what we see is in our industry today, there are 2 major challenges advertisers like you are facing. The first one is around data, and advertisers have a very limited view and understanding of the audience mobile journey. What does that mean? you thought way too long that you are investing your marketing budgets to find and to attract the right audience, but that wasn't the case. And the current market doesn't really contain sufficient knowledge of the audience real interests, of audience interests outside their own network, because what we see these days is a lot of brands as well as publishers and sales houses have only a very limited view and understanding of how the audience is behaving within their own networks, so within their own apps and the own website they are using. And of course, there are partners out there which are relying only on contextual or semantical data, which also comes in very short. These solutions, like using your own ad network data or using semantical or contextual data, coming too short. You will never have a full visibility and a comprehensive knowledge of all the audience interests across apps and sites they are actually visiting. And very important to know, the pool of available data and of ID-based personalization data is shrinking massively. There are different initiatives globally, legislative initiatives, and just to name GDPR as an example, all of this leads to a shrinking pool of advertising data. From data, there is a second problem, and this problem is the viewability. We think that the standards in these days in the market are not high enough, because the standard actually says that 50% of the pixels of a creative in view for 2 seconds would be considered as a valid ad impression. And for us, this is not an effective way to build brand recognition and memorability. Of course you didn't. And again, let me remind you, this is the market standard. We delivered this ad for 50% of the pixels for 2 seconds in view, but there is no memorability of this. We call it the viewability trap. And actually, the digital ad market has been trapped by far too long by accepting these standards. Would you put your spot on a TV with half a black screen? Of course you wouldn't. But you're still doing it by wasting your mobile budgets, by buying this kind of ad impressions. And if you are looking at the bottom of the page, can you actually tell me which brand you saw? Of course not. And this actually leads to complete waste of your advertising budget and of your advertising money. And even worse, this isn't the only trap when it comes to video buying. In addition, visibility that we just elaborated, we have also a second problem, which is actually the video completion rate, or VCR, how we call it. If you're buying your video inventory on a CPM base, and you will always hit this trap, because what does it mean? Your ad is only shown for 2 seconds in the viewable, 50% of the pixels are shown for 2 seconds. So nobody is actually watching your video from the beginning to the end. So this is another 2-layer trap where you are running in and where you're wasting your advertising money. So what we are thinking is something really different is needed. And actually what we question is personified targeting. And let me briefly explain you how personified targeting is working. So imagine you are the advertiser and you are a premium car brand. So your target persona are actually men between 18 and 45 years, which are interested in premium cars. Your audience markers are automotive and luxury premium. So you want to actually find audience with these 2 different markers. So what we do, or what personified targeting actually does, if ad impression comes in, contextual data will find out that this is an ad impression coming from the Financial Times It's a Samsung S21. It's Wi-Fi connected, and it's an ad impression which comes from Germany. Our semantical data layer will actually come back with the information that this ad impression has cryptocurrency markets as a marker, and that this ad impression actually has a high correlation with cryptocurrency. Mobile journey data will then actually, as another layer, know that this basically has also a high correlation with in the mobile journey with own investment apps and visit investment sites. So people who are actually generating this kind of ad impression own usually investment apps and visit investment sites. And self-declared data are surveys that are being run throughout all the time, show a strong discriminance to a question, are you interested in luxury cars? So people who are coming from this publisher are having a high discriminance on answering yes on a survey if they are asked, are you interested in luxury cars? And then basically self-targeting data means how did people interact with creative that they have been previously exposed to, show a high full creative video completion rate on technology brand ads. So what actually this means is that technology brands and premium cars would actually perform well on this side. And then our another layer, which is like the brand protection layer, verifies that this placement where the ad is going to be delivered on is brand safe and fraud free. And this actually makes it a valid and qualified impression to guarantee precision and reach. What then happens is actually this ad impression is scored against the campaign persona. There's a matching being found, and then actually this ad impression will be delivered, and you will actually make sure that you find the right audience and deliver the right ad impression for the right user. And the VCR trap is actually a completely new metric that actually the market needs. And on the left-hand side, you see like the average of the market is a full creative video completion rate of 21%. What is the full creative video completion rate? It's the video completion rate. So how many people are actually watching your advertising or your video from the beginning to the end, multiplied with the fully on-screen duration for 15 seconds. Means basically we multiply the two old, which in the past have been seen completely separated, but you cannot separate these two benchmarks from our point of view, and have the new full creative VCR. And as you can see, at Augury, we outperform the market by 3 times in terms of the full creative video completion rate. Let me now hand over to Charlotte, and Charlotte is going to talk you through our Augury automotive industry insights.
Thank you, Jan. After we've seen some of the challenges that our industry is facing and some of the potential solutions by unlinking everything we do from device IDs and going for impression personification rather than personalization, I would like to talk about this data side a bit more in detail. And we've chosen the automotive industry also because it's one of the industries that are heavily affected by some changes currently happening in the market, and one of the industries that are innovating the most. So if we look at the trends on the next slides, there are 3 main constraints that the auto industry is facing currently. One is, well, COVID, you guessed it. Who is not affected by COVID in one way or the other? But in this case, the auto industry might actually benefit from the fact that people prefer owning a personal vehicle. So up to 85% of consumers actually prefer having their own rather than, say, renting because it's safer and perceived as better for their health. Then we have the fact that throughout this phase of accelerated digitalization with COVID and the lockdowns, working from home, now we have a factor that is actually not impacting the industry in such a favorable manner, but that is the chip shortage that all industries are facing, and especially tech. And if we think about automotive as a category that is actually moving towards tech and embracing tech and building on tech, it's easy to understand the challenge here. So let's keep that in mind, and let's not forget the third constraint, which is the economic situation. Inflation, a squeeze, fuel prices are rising, and obviously, on the other hand as well, there is some regulation, which means that we want to take measures for the promotion of sustainability, and that obviously impacts the choice that users and consumers are making when it comes to their own cars. Based on that, there are actually three main lines of business that the car industry is focusing on. One, unsurprisingly, is electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. They're much more aligned with the sustainability goals and the shift in the markets overall and in politics. But we also see a resurgence of used cars, probably also led by the economic squeeze and the fact that it's easy to get access to a car immediately because it's immediately available rather than having to go through waiting times. And then we have after sales and CRM, which we also predict to be a very relevant category for the automotive market to really keep those loyalists and keep audiences engaged. Let's look at what this means for us from a data and advertising perspective. If we take it one step back, let's focus on one specific category, and let's focus on EV and hybrid vehicles. Why? Well, that is one of the fastest growing categories. If we look at numbers from 2020 already, we see that the share of plug-in electric vehicles, so not even hybrid, just electric vehicles, was very high across European markets. If we compare with the US, there's a clear focus on electric vehicles in Europe versus the US when it comes to car sales, right? And we can expect that number to be even higher when we include hybrid vehicles. Now, why all of this introduction? Well, what I want to get to is how do we differentiate among consumers, and how do we actually manage to reach and engage with the right audience? So based on that, we had a look at Augury at what we can do based on our data. And we came up with a specific custom study for the automotive sector. And I want to take you through some of the findings when it comes to EV and hybrid vehicles. In this study, we're going to look at what is the demographic profile of the audience, but also what are their interests. And then based on that, what can we do to really target them in an effective and successful way? Looking at the electric vehicle buyer across Europe, some things already jump out in terms of common elements. So our electric vehicle buyer in Europe is male, is urban, is mostly aged between 25 and 54, most skewed toward millennial actually. And he is interested in travel. He is also open to car rental. So he's looking for flexible solution. He's looking for comfort. And that is reflected also in a keen interest in tech. So it's not your late adopter, it's definitely somebody who challenges themselves and embraces new technology. There are some differences if we look at local markets as well. So for example, we see a very strong affinity of the electric vehicle buyer with tech and tech news in the northern part of Europe. So in the UK and Germany, what we see there is an affinity index, and the likelihood of this audience being interested in tech news is higher than the rest of the population. But also, specifically in France, we see an interest for connected home and smart home, which we can link back to the wearable devices. So again, that convenience element, that having everything available at the touch of a button and fingertips. Whereas we see some more focus on banking and the financial aspect as well, but still with a twist on innovation, because we look at neobanks in Italy. So neobanks would be those challenger banks, those up and coming ones, digital first really. Car sharing is also important in Spain, and news and keeping up with the latest and greatest is very important in the Netherlands. Now let's take it one step further on the next slide. And let's focus on one of the main automotive markets in Europe, and that is Germany. Here, I want to compare a bit what can we say about our EV and our hybrid buyers, because there's certainly common elements, but there are also some differences. What we can say across both is that there definitely are tech adopters. They embrace new technology, they embrace innovation. At the same time, we do see some differences. For instance, electric vehicle intentionists are more interested in tech and perhaps more in an easier way of life. Whereas on the hybrid intentionist side, we see more interest in monitoring the financial news as well. There's a bit more the practical side. There's travel. There's really everything that makes life pleasant, easy, but also with a touch of pragmatism. And of course, if we think about the two types of cars, hybrid cars are a bit more flexible in a way, whereas electric vehicles and fully electric vehicles are much more urban, much more, in a way, they offer some more constraints that an urban type of consumer is happier to deal with than somebody who has a more flexible way of life and perhaps also travels through long distance. Looking at the next slide and taking it even further. Something interesting, we said our typical intentionist is male, but let's also not forget that 30% of this consumer group is female, and it will be increasing. So it's really important to keep that in mind, and especially if we look at the age breakdown as well, we see that there is a skew on the younger side. So perhaps if we think about how to set up a campaign based on all these insights, let's think about differentiating by interest, by age, but also by gender, for instance. Lastly, what I want to call the attention to is what we call audience markers. Based on all of the interest categories and all of the different apps and sites that we see this audience have a high affinity with and engage with, we can also say what are some of what we call audience markers, so really keywords that are unique and stand out for this audience versus other audiences. And here we see some key keywords in the cloud, such as electromobility or any interest in charging, emissions, reducing emissions, and again, the technology element. So to bring it all together on the next slide, what I think is very important is to have the full picture. So we want to be going from understanding, identifying an audience, understanding who they are and profiling them, knowing how to engage them, and then based on that, really creating a good targeting strategy that allows us to engage with the audience and successfully reach them. This is where we draw upon all of the findings on a study and can give recommendations. And the reason why we think that this approach is the winning approach for the automotive sector or for advertising in general is that it really allows us to fully respect the consumer, the user experience, and be completely unlinked from device IDs or cookies. Now, that said, I would like to pass back to Jan, who can take us through a case study and how that would concretely look like.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. And I think this is the perfect handover to talk about Volvo and what we did there and actually how these insights have been activated to actually drive campaign results with engaging formats in brand-safe environments and future-proof technology. So consumers usually use laptops and desktop computers to research, configure, or buy a car. In order to attract mobile users, the Swedish car brand Volvo needed a mobile-first partner and chose Augury to drive awareness and consideration of the Volvo XC40 in the German market. On the left-hand side, you can see a mock-up of the creative actually that was used. So, as you can see, it's a full-screen, mobile-optimized, really engaging and 100% viewable format. And thanks to Augury advertising engine, Volvo was able to identify and reach its ideal audience with a precise targeting matrix, addressing the right creative to the right target. So actually we used Fahrrad creative to attract bike lovers, Fahrradfahrer. the runners creative, as you can see on this creative, to attract runners, and Fußgänger, so somebody who's actually walking on the street, walking in the forest, to attract outdoor lovers. And the continuous learning and optimization of the algorithm enabled Augury to drive awareness and consideration to the brand and redirect the qualified audience to Volvo's website. Have a look at the campaign results. So the campaign itself delivered a CTR, so a click-through rate of 6%. Volvo saw, thanks to the traffic they got from Augury, a 93.4% in revenue, means actually sales via their website. Less than 0.1% invalid traffic. We delivered more than 83,000 clicks and valid users to the Volvo website. And actually, Volvo was also very happy because they got 2,600 clicks that were on for free and which were just being added on top. So basically, the feedback of Volvo after this campaign was like Augury has been by far the most effective partner, and since then we do have a great and very intense partnership with Volvo and the agency. So this already is the end of our presentation, and actually we are really looking forward to discuss with you, to have ongoing conversations. If you are in automotive, if you are in a different industry or vertical, reach out to us. Let's discuss about insights. Let's discuss about what we can do for your brand, and really looking forward to have further conversations with you. Charlotte, you want to close this round?
Thank you, Jan. It's been great to be able to present this approach to you, and I'm really excited about the future holds when it comes to our industry, and especially from a data and measurement perspective. I know it poses a challenge to find alternatives that are cookie-less, that are ID-less, but we're on it. And as an industry, I'm very pleased to see that we're coming together with so many partners and finding solutions. So it's an exciting time, and I look forward to continuing these discussions.
Thank you.
What a great showcase and so many learnings. Thank you, Charlotte and Jan. And now, to bring this first day of proceedings to a close, here's Katja Grieser, the Country Director of the MMA Germany.
Wow, thank you very much to all our speakers today. I hope you enjoyed it as I did, and you took away a lot of learnings and tangible insights. We will continue tomorrow. We start at 11 a.m. Central European time, and we again have prepared a real great lineup and agenda for you. We will kick off with the CMO of Freenow, Thomas Zimmermann, who will give us insights about his journey and the rebranding during a pandemic. And we will hear how brands can be integrated in music, videos, in games, or even esports. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you want to continue the conversation, please join us in our Slack community on Twitter, LinkedIn, or sign up to our newsletter, mmagermany.de. And I hope to see you tomorrow. So stay tuned, stay safe, and thank you for joining.